Immortal Cultivation begins with time management. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyright or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401. Before the competition, the master instructs. The secret Tibetan scriptures of the Supreme Being was even more difficult to understand than the Nine Heavens Pure Land Realm mantra, which made Luo Yan a little depressed. After studying it for 3 or 4 days, he still didn't understand it. It was not because he had a bad understanding, but because the text was indeed obscure. Many ancient grammars were very different from today's, and there were no annotations to explain it. It was like learning a foreign language. In addition, this secret Tibetan scriptures of the Supreme Being seemed to involve the method of incarnation, so he couldn't ask others for advice, so the translation progress was even slower. In addition to studying this scripture, Luo Yan had to get together with Mishi and the other 5 people who also participated in the Baiyujing competition to learn from each other every day. Of course, there was no need to practice magic weapons. Shili now had to practice too. One was the East Sea Jade Coral swordsmanship, and the other was the South Deepa Star River secret art. When she practiced swordsmanship, Luo Yan practiced with her using the Wangtime Kun sword. This immortal sword originally belongs to the Earth system, with great force and heavy weight, and its rank is very high. With just one sweep of the sword, Shili's Zijihan Yuan sword could not resist and was ravaged by Luo Yan in various ways. When she was practicing Taoism, Luo Yan used the acquired 5 elements divine light to practice against her. The secret art of the Southern Dipper Galaxy is also an extraordinary one. It can summon the water of the Milky Way to the lower world out of thin air. Even a drop of water hitting a person can form 1,000 pounds of force. However, no matter how powerful this art is, it cannot escape the attributes of the 5 elements of water. When it is brushed by the acquired 5 elements divine light, it is like a sharp blade cutting through a piece of silk, and it is torn apart cleanly. Shili was so angry that she gritted her teeth and refused to continue fighting with Luo Yan no matter what, and turned to find other people to practice with. Although she lacked experience in fighting, Xianxing and others might not be that powerful. In addition, whether it was the Zijihan Yuan sword or the Southern Dipper Galaxy secret art, they were not of ordinary ranks, so she defeated them with overwhelming force, which made Mishi very proud. King Temple has high hopes for these 7 disciples, and naturally pays attention to their daily competition. The head of Kshandu often takes time to come and watch the competition, and he found that among the 7 people, Luo Yan is undoubtedly the strongest among the 7. Although Shili is no match for Luo Yan, he is also victorious against others. The remaining 5, including his son Tianzhen, fought back and forth with each other, and the outcome was unpredictable. It seems that in this Baiyujing competition, if you want to win the 12 seeds, you have to focus on Luo Yan and Shili. So, after the competition ended one day, the head of Kshandu left Luo Yan alone. What does the head call me for? Luo Yan was also a little puzzled. Could it be that he wants to imitate the way the Subhutu patriarch treated Sun Wukong and give me some special treatment in private? As if seeing through his thoughts, the Kshandu sect master smiled and said, I'm not planning to give you a reward. You have all the magic weapons on you now. Be careful not to bite off more than you can chew. Luo Yan pretended to laugh, but he couldn't deny it. In terms of flying swords, he has the Wangtime Kun sword. In terms of Taoism, he has the acquired 5 elements divine light. Both of these are extraordinary items, and their ranks are even higher than Mishi. In terms of magic weapons, the treasure bags of the Tiangong workshop are all on his waist. What kind of magic weapons can't he find? Even if he simply takes them out and smashes them, he can smash his opponent to death. In the eyes of the Kshandu sect master, the only thing Luo Yan lacks is combat experience. It's like a battle between monks. If the opponent directly shoots at you with a flying sword at a high speed, if you can't even defend yourself, then forget about the treasure bag and the 5 elements divine light. Where would you have the time to use them? Insufficient combat experience is like holding the divine sword in the hands of a child. There is no threat at all. Just try to attack me. Kshandu sect master said gently, go ahead. Luo Yan was startled, and then he knew that the sect master wanted to personally test and teach him, so he quickly said, then I will show my ugliness, please teach me. After that, he made a sword gesture and shot the Wangtime Kun sword towards Kshandu sect master. Kshandu sect master didn't even blink, and a silver light shot out from behind. It was his sect master sword, the Yijing Yunya sword, which intercepted the Wangtime Kun sword. The 2 swords collided, and there was a loud sound like thunder. The Yijing Yunya sword was slightly weakened, and rays of light burst out from the sword body. Seeing this, Chuandu sect master exclaimed, "This Wanchang Kun sword is worthy of being the sword of the Yellow Emperor in the past." Even the Yijing Yunya sword couldn't stop it, which shows its overwhelming power. But why does it seem to be a little bit ineffective? You haven't made this sword recognize its master yet? Chuandu sect master frowned and said. The headmaster also knows that this is the Yellow Emperor's sword. Luo Yan smiled helplessly. How can it be so easy to recognize its master? It's strange. The headmaster of Chuandu said faintly. It's not a common thing for the Yellow Emperor's sword to refuse to recognize its master, so there is nothing wrong with this statement. But logically speaking, since this sword is unwilling to recognize Luo Yan as its master, then with Luo Yan's current level of cultivation, it is probably difficult to make it move. So the headmaster of Chuandu thought that Luo Yan used some method to subdue the Wanchang Kun sword by accident. However, now Luo Yan admitted that he did not let this sword recognize its master, then why can he control it? It can't be that it only recognized its master halfway, not completely. The headmaster of Chuandu was silent, and Luo Yan naturally didn't want to interrupt casually, and the scene became quiet. Only the Kingping sword, which knew the secret, giggled in Luo Yan's body. By the way, how did you help him subdue that sword? Kumlinjing asked curiously. I won't tell you. The Kingping sword deliberately kept it a secret. The Chuandu sect master thought for a long time, and finally slowly said, with the power of the Wanchang Kun sword, it won't be difficult for you to get a place in the Baiyuzheng competition. But if you want to compete for the 12th seed, this sword will not recognize you as its master by then, and its slow turnover problem will probably become a huge flaw. Luo Yan naturally knew all this, and said with a wry smile, Junior is incompetent, please give me some advice, set master. To make up for this flaw, there are two ways. The Chuandu sect master raised two fingers. One is to nourish this sword with true essence for a long time, and when it is familiar with your breath, you can use secret methods to refine it. Luo Yan nodded, and he also knew what secret method the Chuandu sect master was talking about. It was the Shushan secret method of the natal sword weapon. However, what the Chuandu sect master didn't know was that he had already accepted the Kingping sword as his natal sword weapon. Just like a man cannot marry two wives, how could he have two natal sword weapons at the same time? So this road is definitely not feasible. The second one, the Chuandu sect leader continued, is to practice swordsmanship hard. The higher your swordsmanship level, the smaller the flaws in your swordsmanship. Although it cannot be completely eliminated, it is enough to increase the chance of winning. Luo Yan nodded in agreement. The Chuandu sect leader's words were very simple. You don't need to make your swordsmanship flawless, you just need to improve your swordsmanship level so that your flaws are not so easy to be targeted by others. As for Luo Yan's actual swordsmanship level, if we only talk about swordsmanship attainments, he dares to say that among all the orthodox disciples participating in the Baiyuzheng competition, except for Nzesu, who was born with a sword heart, no one can be his opponent. Of course, Qiu Changtai and Lin Yunpo can't be counted. This is a fight between oneself, no matter whether you win or lose, how can it be counted? Chapter 402 I'll use my junior brother to practice with you later. After watching the swordplay, Chuandu sect master asked Luo Yan to show him the 5 elements divine light. Luo Yan then pinched the Do formula and displayed the 5 elements divine light. Chuandu sect master also activated various magic weapons to try to resist. I saw that these magic weapons were immediately suppressed when they touched the 5 elements divine light, and they had no power to fight back. Well, it is worthy at the legendary acquired 5 elements Great Extinction divine light, which has a natural restraint on everything that does not come out of the 5 elements. Even with the huge gap in cultivation between him and me, he can still suppress the magic weapon I activated. It can be seen that the rank of this acquired 5 elements divine light is really amazing. Just as Chuandu sect master continued to think, I saw that the originally bright and rolling 5 elements divine light suddenly went out like a light bulb that had lost power. Luo Yan, Chuandu sect leader. The two looked at each other awkwardly for a moment, and then Luo Yan said bigly, this acquired 5 elements extinction divine light consumes too much true essence. I can only hold on for 3 breaths at most. Is that so? Sect leader Chuandu pondered for a moment and said, in that case, it cannot be used as a conventional means. You must use this 5 elements divine light as your biggest trump card. Try not to use it in the first few rounds of the Baiyuzheng competition. Wait until you meet a real opponent, then take it out and make the final decision. In addition, since you can hold on for 3 breaths, then when you use it for the first time in the competition, it is best to use it for only 1 breath as much as possible. Do you understand? Junior understands. Luo Yan thought to himself, isn't it just hiding a trump card and misleading information? How can I not understand? I have been in this business for decades. There is no suitable solution to the problem of insufficient true essence now. The Chuandu headmaster continued, the total amount of true essence depends on your cultivation and the grade of your key refining technique. The higher the cultivation level and the higher the grade of your key refining technique, the more vigorous and abundant the true essence will be. As for the recovery speed of true essence, it is determined by the perfection of your own Jade Palace and the subsequent grade of Jindan. The more perfect the Jade Palace Jindan is, the more solid your foundation of cultivation is, and the faster the recovery speed of true essence will be. Both of these are long-term plans and cannot be achieved overnight, but at least you can design tactics well to make up for your shortcomings in this area in disguise. Disciple, I will teach you. Luo Yan bowed respectfully. Although what he said was all nonsense that he had known for a long time, he also saw that the Chuandu headmaster was sincerely giving him advice. Well, seeing that the headmaster is so sincere, I will fulfill his wish and help him win the top 12 seats in the Baiyuzheng competition. It is not impossible. Thinking of this, Luo Yan suddenly felt that he was really pitiful. If I had not been carrying the heroic fate of trying to seize the heaven repairing stone, wouldn't I have wanted to get close to such a kind elder and contribute my meager strength to the sect? This is not my fault, it is clearly the fault of this world. After the comments, the Chuandu sect master concluded, you are now far superior to your peers in terms of both your cultivation realm and your magical equipment. The only problem is that in terms of combat experience, there is still a lot of room for improvement compared to the elite disciples of Kunlun and Shushan. Luo Yan listened to the opinions humbly, thinking that the sect master was really euphemistic. There is a lot of room for improvement, haha. And, the most important thing at the moment is to design the most suitable combat style and fighting method for you based on your current actual situation. The Chuandu sect master encouraged, practice well, and when the Baiyuzheng competition comes, I believe you will be able to show enough strength. Luo Yan bowed and said yes, thinking that it was just a competition. Why did the sect master make him feel as nervous as the eve of the college entrance examination? It was really outrageous. As for the so-called polishing one's own style, he had already been doing it without the reminder of the Chuandu headmaster. After all, he was a man with countless trap cards. If he didn't design the deck according to each person's character, what would he do if he made a mistake, mixed up, or leaked the secret? Go and call your senior sister. The Chuandu headmaster looked into the distance. Luo Yan turned his head and saw Shilili waiting for him outside. It seemed that when the headmaster asked him to stay alone, Miss Shi noticed it and stayed here because she was worried. He couldn't help but feel warm in his heart, so he waved to Shilili and walked over. Is it over? Shilili asked in a low voice. Yeah. Luo Yan nodded. What do you mean? Shilili was a little nervous. Does the headmaster still want to match me with his son? Luo Yan. He was silent for a moment, and asked with a strange look. Then what do you think the headmaster kept me here just now for? Isn't it because he suspected the relationship between us, so he wanted to teach you a lesson? Shilili asked with a frown. Luo Yan was silent for a long time again, and then he slowly sighed. When will this young lady grow up? She is so stupid that I almost feel sorry for her. He was too lazy to explain the misunderstanding, but just took Shilili's hand and pulled her to the Chuandu headmaster, and only heard the headmaster say gently, Little Luli, try to attack me with your flying sword. Shilili was stunned for a moment, and suddenly said, Grandmaster, are you going to teach me swordsmanship? Yes, what else? The Chuandu headmaster asked in surprise. Even though Shilili was usually carefree, she couldn't help blushing at this time, and hurriedly said, Then I will show my ugliness. She quickly pinched the sword formula with her hands and stabbed the Zhejihen Yuan sword at the headmaster, using the first move of the Donghaiyu sword, purple air coming from the east. The Chuandu headmaster easily caught it with the Yuna Yuejing sword, feeling the force, angle and stamina of the sword, thinking, didn't you two come from the Tiangong workshop? How come your swordsmanship is so much worse than Luo Yan's? Could it be that Elder Shiding favored Luo Yan and didn't teach Shilili much? After receiving a few moves from Shilili, the Chuandu sect leader motioned her to stop, and then began to ponder. His eyebrows gradually tangled into a ball. This, Shilili's swordsmanship is really hard to evaluate. It's not that there are no shortcomings, but compared with Luo Yan, whether it is awareness, skills, or reaction speed, almost all of them are shortcomings. Logically speaking, in this case, you need to practice the basic skills of swordsmanship first, but with the Bayesian competition ahead, where is the time to rebuild the foundation? You can use the Taoism again. The Chuandu sect leader decided to skip it. She pinched the Tao formula again and used the secret technique of the Southern Dipper Galaxy. Suddenly, a little starlight lit up in the void, and then there was an endless river of water, rolling out from the starlight. The waves rolled wildly, and the waves roared. In just a moment, the figure of the Chuandu sect leader was about to be completely swallowed. The Chuandu sect master was not in a hurry. He turned the Yuexing sword in a circle, and a Tai-Kai pattern appeared around him. The surging river water crashed into the Tai-Kai pattern, and it was like falling into a bottomless pit, and was absorbed in an instant. This secret method is not bad. After she received the secret method, the Chuandu sect master was finally very happy and said with a smile, "Little Luli, compared to the swordsmanship that is easy to learn but difficult to master, you're obviously more talented in Taoism." "Sir, do you think my swordsmanship is too bad?" Shili asked angrily. "Every inch has its own strengths and weaknesses." The Chuandu sect master said leisurely, "Your goal is to gain an advantage in the Bayesian competition. Instead of bothering to make up for your shortcomings, you might as well focus on strengthening your strengths." Shili thought about it carefully and felt that it made sense, so he continued to listen patiently. "Your foundation in swordsmanship is too weak. Even if you practice hard until today, how can you compare with the Shushan sword immortal who has been immersed in this art all his life? Fortunately, your Zhejiang Yuan sword is of a good grade. In terms of swordsmanship, you must be able to block the opponent's sword attack in time, so as to gain time to use Taoism and magic weapons. As for Taoism, the biggest advantage of the Nando Xinghe secret art is that it is endless and has a huge range, so that the opponent has no way to hide and is difficult to resist. He can only fight back with the same large-scale Taoism. At this time, you can activate your Xingzhou magic weapon to break the stalemate of Taoism, and you can create a chance of victory that you can grasp." Shili suddenly got an inspiration when she heard this. Her magic weapon Tuigao Chenya Xingzhou is an extremely large amount of crystal gravel, which is hard and far better than gold and iron. Once it is wrapped around the opponent, the ordinary great magic flying sword will be crushed by the Xingzhou immediately. However, every time she practiced with Luo Yan, he would shoot out his flying sword first, piercing through the star sand barrier to attack her body first, making it difficult for Shili to resist and quickly defeated. Although the aggregation speed of the star sand was not slow, it was obviously not as fast as the flying sword, and there was no time to come back for help. But if the Nando Xinghe secret technique was launched first, so that the surrounding area was engulfed by the water of the Tinhe River, the opponent would not be able to use this trick. After all, the impact of the Tinhe water was overwhelming and difficult to resist, and the range was extremely wide. No matter where the opponent's flying sword attacked from, it had to pass through the Tinhe water, and it was like a boat going upstream, and the speed could not be raised at all. Then, just quietly mix the Tuigao Chenya star sand into the Tinhe water and quietly attack the opponent. The Tinhe water obscured the light and trajectory of the star sand, and the star sand made up for the shortcomings of the Tinhe water in attacking. The two complemented each other and complemented each other. Isn't it beautiful? Very good. This tactical plan, I will try it on my junior brother first, so as to vent my anger for being bullied by him recently. She turned her head quietly to look at Luo Yan, and couldn't help showing a smug smirk. Luo Yan. An hour later, whether it was the Tinhe water of the Southern Dipper Galaxy secret art or the Tuigu Chenya star sand hidden in the water, they were easily broken by Luo Yan's acquired 5 elements extinction divine light. Shili was so anxious that she jumped up and down, and insisted on learning this 5 elements divine light. Luo Yan was forced by her and had no choice but to hide with Elder Shiding. Shili went straight to her father and used the triple chant of the Begadifa to Luo Yan. Elder Shiding watched his daughter and future son-in-law fighting on the side, revealing a satisfied smile of having eaten enough for dog food. Chapter 403 What, this thing again? Point 2. Shushan King Sect, King Luo Peak. Character Identity. Ling Yunpo. Mirror Flower Water Moon Templar covered, currently traveling through time and space. Early in the morning, Ling Yunpo carried a broom and went out to sweep the floor. Although it is the end of winter now, the temperature in Shushan has gradually warmed up, and there are fewer rainy and snowy days. Ling Yunpo was very free, and he cleaned the temple inside and out. Suddenly, a sword light descended from the outside to the ground. It was Nzisu who had returned from the mountain to buy wine. Junior brother. Zisu showed a happy expression, lifted up her skirt, and hurried over, saying, "There is a great news, the Bayujing competition, right?" Ling Yunpo said calmly, sweeping the floor non-stop. "How do you know?" Zisu was stunned for a moment, then smiled. "This time the Bayujing competition will determine the top 12 seeds." Ling Yunpo said again. "That's right." Zisu said seriously, "I heard that the higher-ups have already said that we Shushan must take at least half of them." "Take half?" Ling Yunpo laughed in silence. He was really arrogant. "Let's not talk about anything else. Qiu Changtai and Zhu Yingyan from Kunlun sect, and Luoyan from Penglai sect, these three are not only hard to beat in their own sects, but even if they face Shushan, Lin Yulanzhen and his team will definitely not win. Let's not talk about Qiu and Luo, my vest. Zhu Yingyan's advantage lies in the Great Light Flame plus the Phoenix Bloodliner. The rank and power are ridiculously high, and only super powerful Taoism can resist it. However, most of the Shushan sword immortals study swordsmanship, and very few of them practice Taoism. When encountering a situation where Taoism must be used, they can only use the sword Taoism instead. Unfortunately, even if it is exactly the same Taoism, if it is sealed on the sword, the true essence consumption is much higher than that of studying it by yourself because there is a layer of flying sword to activate it. The true essence loss rate will be very high. Therefore, if the Shushan sword immortals cannot kill the Kunlun monks quickly, they will often fight to consume their true essence, and eventually be worn out and defeated. Zhu Yingyan has the blood of the phoenix, and has practiced the 9 heavens Pure Land Realm mantra, so the strength of her true essence is ridiculously high. In addition to the Golden Mercury Dam, the 10,000 years of ice essence, the Yangxia Human Pill, the 9 turns Zhufeng Pill, and various rare Purple Palace secret medicines, the Purple Palace has now formed a Jade Palace, and the speed of true essence recovery is also frighteningly high. The monks outside the sect respectfully call her Phoenix Fairy, and the Kunlun monks call her Little Qiu Changtai. It is not impossible to defeat her, but to kill her quickly, even Qiu Changtai can't do it. If you can't kill quickly, it will be a protracted battle. With Zhu Yingyan's true essence strength and unyielding temperament and perseverance, the battle will only be dragged into the rhythm she is most familiar with. Therefore, it is equivalent to saying that 3 seats in the 12 cities of Bayujing had been reserved by Qiu Changtai, Zhu Yingyan and Luoyan. If she really had made adequate preparations before the competition, it would not be impossible for her to enter the top 12 with her Tui Star Sand and Nando Galaxy secret techniques. But when it comes to possibility, we have to take into account the favor of heaven on her. If this young lady really did something before the competition to manipulate her luck, who could withstand it? Ling Yunpo tentatively believed that as long as she really wanted to compete, she would definitely have a place in the 12 seeds. In other words, on the surface, it was a competition for 6 seats out of the 12 seeds, but in fact, Shushan had to compete for 6 seats out of the 8 seeds. There would definitely be no problem for him and senior sister Anne, but the difficulty lay in whether Lin Yulanzhen and the others could successfully enter the top 12. Let's not talk about Penglai for now. On the Kunlun side, Qiu Changtai's several senior brothers and sisters were all the chief disciples of their generation, and were taught by the headmaster himself. They practiced the 9 heavens Qingwei entering the realm mantra, and their true essence was also ridiculously strong. If Lin Yulanzhen and the others wanted to compete with them in that competition, they could only say that there was hope, but the difficulty was not small. Ling Yunpo was thinking and pondering carefully, while Zisu stood quietly beside him, not making a sound to disturb his thoughts. But not long after, 3 sword lights appeared in the distance, arriving at the top of King Luo Peak one after another. They were Lin Yulanzhen, Julanfen Hegai, and Yuan Chenyu. Junior brother Lin. Lin Yulanzhen greeted from a distance. "Do you know that the Bayujing competition will be held soon?" Before he finished speaking, Zisu glared at him, signaling him to be quiet and not to disturb Ling Yunpo's thoughts. Lin Yulanzhen was also a good-tempered person. After being glared at by Zisu, he immediately smiled and kept silent. However, Ling Yunpo had already woken up. He looked up at Lin Yulanzhen and others, bowed and said, "Senior brother Lin, senior brother Juan, senior sister Yuan. Hey. It's fine at other times." Yuan Chenyu said jokingly, "This time I came before Juanfen Hegai, why am I still the last one in the order of greeting?" "Senior sister Yuan, you're joking." Ling Yunpo's expression remained unchanged. "The one in front is close, and the one in the back is respect." "Oh?" Juanfen Hegai also laughed. "Then I'm in the middle, so I'm neither close nor respectful." "No." Ling Yunpo smiled slightly. "Senior brother Juan is generous." So everyone was happy, and they admired Ling Yunpo's increasingly exquisite social skills even more. Let's get back to the point. The reason why the 5 people gathered again at King Luo Peak was naturally to discuss the Baiyujing competition. Needless to say, Lin Yulanzhen has always had a close relationship with Nzisu and Ling Yunpo, and it was habit for him to discuss with them. Julanfanhai had completely changed his opinion of Ling Yunpo after he offered to stay behind to cover the retreat and fight the crazy Taoist Master Duo with senior sister and in the last giant tree secret realm. This time, he came not only to discuss the Baiyujing competition, but also to bring the spiritual herbs picked in the last giant tree secret realm and the corresponding Purple Palace secret medicine to him and Nzisu. As for Yuan Chinyu, she always did things casually, but in hindsight, it was not without clues. In short, it was better not to dwell on her motives. The harvest from the giant tree secret realm last time, all kinds of purple mansion secret medicines, are all here after they are refined. Julanfanhai took out 2 storage bags and handed them over. If we divide them equally, the secret medicines each person gets can improve their cultivation by about 10 years. I have discussed with junior brother Sima. You 2 stayed behind to fight to the death, so we will give you half to make up for it. That is 15 years of secret medicine for each of you. How about it? Senior brother Juan is really generous. Ling Yunpo took the storage bag with a smile, neither expressing any objection nor carefully checking the pills in it. Although the 2 of them took the initiative to stay behind to cover the retreat, the location of the secret realm was provided by Sima Chengyan. It is actually difficult to explain the contribution. It can only be said that the former is more important, but it is difficult to quantify how much more important it is. Julanfanhai and Sima Chengyan each gave up 5 years of Wafu cultivation, which is reasonable. Ling Yunpo didn't want to be fussy about the number of years, and Nzisu naturally didn't care. After putting away the bag, Julanfanhai said solemnly, regarding the upcoming Baiyujing competition, the goal given by the party is to take half of the top 12 seeds. If you can enter the top 6, you can get a Jusui Yidan as a guarantee. Jusui Yidan, Ling Yunpo was a little dumbfounded. Because of this thing, the last time Qiu Chengtai broke the Jirijiao sword formation outside Penglai Island, the Kisun Immortal of Kunlun had already rewarded him with one. He had already eaten it. Chapter 404 My Protective Senior Sister. In this Baiyujing competition, the Shushan high-level officials have already clearly marked the rewards for each seat. Among them, if you can enter the top 6, regardless of the specific ranking, you will be guaranteed to receive a Jusui Yidan. For that top 5 to the first seed, in addition to the Jusui Yidan, there will be additional rewards, but no one knows what they are. This vermilion marrow pill, if taken 1 pill, can increase your Wafu cultivation by 30 years. Lin Yulanzhen also added, but the best part is that there is no upper limit to how much it can be taken. Ling Yunpo's spirit suddenly perked up. No upper limit. How do you get that? For ordinary medicines, such as the golden mercury pill, you can only take 1 spoonful at most and then you can't drink it anymore. But this vermilion marrow pill is different. It is said that the head of Kunlun's Ziwei sect took a total of 3 vermilion marrow pills that year, which was equivalent to increasing his cultivation by 90 years, and he didn't encounter any upper limit bottleneck. Lin Yulanzhen sighed and said, from this we can see that the value of this vermilion marrow pill is actually higher than the Purple Mansion secret medicine of the same 30 years. Of course. Yuan Chinyu agreed with a smile. It's like if I have a spoonful of golden mercury pill and 2 vermilion marrow pills for me to choose, I will definitely choose the latter. Probably because if you take 2 vermilion marrow pills, you can continue to increase your cultivation in the future through other means, whether it's getting more vermilion marrow pills or other Purple Mansion secret medicines. But if you choose a spoonful of the golden mercury dam liquid, and then accidentally get more of it later, you can't drink more because you have reached the upper limit. Wouldn't you regret it for the rest of your life? That's true. Nzisu nodded, but saw that the junior brother beside him frowned and said nothing. Everyone followed her gaze and looked at Ling Yunpo. What Ling Yunpo was thinking at this time was, what did the head of Ziwei sect do in the past to get 3 Jusui Yidan in one go? It couldn't be that he saved the 3 pure ones of the Orthodox sect. After thinking for a while, he asked curiously, this Jusui Yidan, what materials are used to refine it? Hey. Julanfanhai sneered, the refining formula of Jusui Yidan is not top secret, and most of the materials are not difficult to obtain. Only one main medicine is absolutely rare. It is impossible to get it unless you come from a big sect. What main medicine? Ling Yunpo asked seriously. A drop of blood essence from an immortal. Julanfanhai replied. Everyone. Damn. Ling Yunpo suddenly cursed in his heart. He suddenly realized that in the demon-locking tower, Yinglong, who was at the level of an immortal, gave him a drop of blood essence, so that he could disguise himself as Long Long. If I had known earlier, I would have asked for a few more drops and refined 4 or 5 Jusui Dan. Wouldn't I have already made a first-grade golden elixir by now? Yuan Chenyu. Zisu asked puzzledly, and it was obvious that he had the same idea as Ling Yunpo. If Jusui Dan needs that blood essence of an immortal, you can ask your ancestor for a few drops, and you can directly make a top-grade golden elixir, right? Zisu, you think it's simple? Yuan Chenyu said with a chuckle, the blood essence of an immortal will damage the origin. How can you ask for it from the ancestor? Even the 3 Jusui Dan taken by the Kunlun headmaster back then came from 3 different immortals. Unless you can make the immortal owe you a big favor, it is impossible to get this thing. Speaking of this, do you know why Shushan can release 6 Jusui Dan at one time this time? Lin Yulanzan suddenly asked in a low voice. Please tell me more, senior brother Lin. Ling Yunpo said hurriedly. The peak speculates that the death of Taoist Master Doi last time brought a great blow to that person. Lin Yulanzan said seriously, the blood essence must be shaken to the heart meridian before it can overflow, and every extra drop is a great loss. But if it is because the heart meridian was damaged due to the severe shock of the mind, then it can be explained that all of it was made into Jusui Dan to avoid waste. You mean, that person's mind was damaged because of the death of his beloved disciple? Yuan Chenyu narrowed his eyes. It's just a guess. Lin Yulanzan shook his head. However, for an immortal, even if the heart meridian is damaged, it is not a serious injury, and it will recover after 100 years of recuperation. So, it cannot be ruled out that the person wants to support the prestige of the sect, so he released all the Jusui Dan accumulated over the years this time. That's really a big investment. Zisu said casually. Then she saw everyone staring at her in surprise. Why, did I say something wrong? Zisu asked puzzled. Nothing. Everyone shook their heads. Blood investment can be understood as paying a heavy price, or it can be literally understood as using blood essence as capital, which is a very clever double entendre. However, looking at the silly social idiocy of the mowing sword fairy, it is probably just a coincidence, so everyone stopped worrying about it. Speaking of which, Julanfanhai said thoughtfully, can our Shushan really occupy the top 6? I don't think so. For example, if there are only 2 people in our Shushan this time, and they enter the top 6 in the Biujing competition, then they only need to pay 2 Fusio pills. Maybe the sect doesn't have 6 Fusio pills prepared at all. It's not that it's not necessarily, it's definitely impossible. Lin Yulanzan said with a wry smile, Kunlun Foundation Establishment Realm Grand Chief, Do Hart Tongming Kyo Chain Tian, you all know him, right? He is the one who went to the demon-locking tower with us last time. Why don't you know him? Yuan Chenyu said with a smile. Everyone else thought she meant Kyo Chain Tian is famous, so I know him, but Ling Yunpo realized that Yuan Chenyu said this because her cousin Yuanzan was Kyo Chain Tian's junior. Since the chief disciple had to teach on behalf of the master, Kyo Chain Tian was a junior brother to Yuanzan in name, but in reality they were master and apprentice. With Yuan Chenyu's personality, it was basically impossible that she had not paid attention to Kyo Chain Tian. So what do you think of Kyo Chain Tian's strength? Lin Yulanzan sighed. If I face him, there is no way I can win. Julanfanhai said in a deep voice, according to my friend in Kunlun, the chief at the Foundation Establishment Realm has probably already formed the Jade Palace, and his current goal is the 2nd grade golden elixir. I've heard about it too. Yuan Chenyu said with a smile. This time, the Kunlun Sept leader instructed Kyo Chain Tian that he must win the Biujing competition. In this way, he will be both the chief at the Foundation Establishment Realm of Kunlun and the chief at the 3 Pure Ones of the Orthodox Church. The reason why the Kunlun Sept leader said this is of course because he has confidence. Lin Yulanzan said seriously, I heard that Kyo Chain Tian's strength has reached enough. Zisu suddenly interrupted in a cold voice, talk about intelligence, what's the point of bragging about the other party's strength? When we, the Sword Immortals, meet a strong enemy, we should draw our swords. The competition is not a life and death duel. No matter how strong and fierce Kyo Chain Tian is, are you afraid of being killed by him? That's true. Lin Yulanzan immediately laughed dryly and said, it was us who showed our cowardice. Thank you, Senior Sister Anne, for your warning. Yuan Chenyu didn't buy it and said with a smile, Lin Yulanzan, reflect on yourself and don't drag us into this. Kyo Chain Tian's strength is something that everyone has known for a long time. What's wrong with discussing it? Zisu, if it were you, in the last battle when the demon cult besieged Penglai, could you have broken the Jiao Huxian sword formation alone with a sword? That was not a complete Huxian sword formation. Zisu had just said one sentence when he was interrupted by Juan Van Hai and said, even if it is incomplete, many Ning elders of Kunlun are trapped in it and can't escape. Do you think, Zisu, that you are more powerful than the elders of Kunlun? That's not what I meant. Zisu said angrily, but I don't believe that Qiu Changtian is more powerful than the elders at Kunlun. He must have taken advantage of something. Ling Yunpo laughed awkwardly beside him. It's true, thanks to my family's Kingping sword, which directly gave the strategy to break the formation, but senior sister seems to have a very bad impression of Qiu Changtian. That's right. I remember that when we first met in the Locking Demon Tower, she didn't like Qiu Changtian's high-profile appearance. In short, no matter how outrageous the outside world is, when it comes to the Biujing competition, it's all about the sword in the hand. Zisu finally said, in my opinion, junior brother Ling is no weaker than Qiu Changtian. Seeing that she began to make unreasonable judgments directly, what else could Lin Yulanzhen and others say? They could only awkwardly agree with a few words. After all, no one wanted to compete with the mowing sword fairy before the competition. Ling Yunpo also showed an awkward smile. Although senior sister was just defending her shortcomings, she was really right this time. Logically speaking, of course I can't be weaker than me. Chapter 405. Senior sister first, I second. Since Zisu was angry, everyone stopped talking about Qiu Changtian's great achievements and started to discuss his intelligence seriously. The most famous method of Qiu Changtian is the Five Thunders orthodox method. Lin Yulanzhen said in detail, Thunder Cultivation was also a sect of cultivators in the early years. It was once as famous as sword cultivation, but it gradually declined. The reason is simple. Thunder magic is very powerful, and the practice process is extremely dangerous. If you are not careful, you'll hurt your body or your mind will change drastically. Therefore, the number of people who practice it is becoming increasingly scarce. It is said that now, except for the general outline of the Five Thunders orthodox method in all major sects, even the basic thunder magic spells have been lost. In that case, Juan Van Hai asked curiously, then how did Qiu Changtian learn the Five Thunders orthodox method? With his status and realm, as long as you are willing to look for various clues, you can always find some clues. Yuan Jinu said slowly, but my opinion is different from senior brother Lin. In my opinion, Qiu Changtian's most powerful thing is not the Five Thunders orthodox method, but that he has no shortcomings. No shortcomings? Lin Yulanzhen seemed to be thinking about something. In terms of key training, he practices the immortal secret method 9 Heavens Pure Land Realm Mantra, and his true essence is extremely powerful and profound. Yuan Jinu said calmly, in terms of Taoism, he practices the Five Thunders orthodox method, and his attack methods are extremely powerful. Even a 10th level flying sword cannot withstand a thunder attack. Even in terms of sword control, his swordsmanship is not inferior to you and me. It is said that the Phoenix Fairy has been fighting with him every day since she entered the sect, and she has never defeated him once so far. Juan Van Hai was secretly shocked and could not help but look at Zisu. Because the most famous thing about this sword-cutting immortal in Shushan is that he has never lost in sword fights with disciples from all peaks, big or small, I think Kunling Qiu Changtian is probably a strong man of the same level as Zisu. Zisu became impatient and turned to Ling Yunpo and said, Junior brother, don't think they're exaggerating. No matter how powerful Qiu Changtian is, he still has 2 arms and a head. He hasn't even formed a golden elixir, so how can he have no shortcomings? Ling Yunpo felt amused in his heart, but he looked resolute and unyielding, and said, of course. If I am lucky enough to meet him in this Biujing competition, I will naturally ask him for advice. Seeing this pair of senior siblings talking and laughing, and not taking the Kunlun Foundation establishment realm chief seriously at all, Lin Yulanzhen was a little impressed and said, in addition to Qiu Changtian, his junior sister's Yu Yinglyan is also a difficult person to deal with. In addition to the 9 Heavens Pure Land Realm and True Words, Yu Yinglyan also has the Great Light Fire, which can burn mountains and boil seas, Mount Golden Dian. In a sense, it is even more difficult to deal with than Qiu Changtian's Five Thunders Law. Everyone fell silent after hearing this. If there is one thing that Shushan Sword Immortal hates the most, besides the defensive magic weapons that flying swords cannot break through, it must be this kind of large-scale Taoism. After all, whether the opponent attacks with a flying sword or a magic weapon, he can at least use his own sword to block it. But if it is this kind of bombing Taoism that is everywhere, the flying sword itself is definitely powerless, and it must use the Taoism on the sword to fight against it. For the Shushan sword immortal, it is like being restrained by others with his strengths, and he has to fight against the enemy with his weaknesses, which is very frustrating. Her great bright fire Taoism, no matter how skilled she is, it takes time to activate. Zisu said in a deep voice, as long as we attack at the beginning and suppress her so that she has no time to activate the Taoism, isn't it enough? Lin Yulanzhen was a little embarrassed and said helplessly, that's what I said, but if you want to keep suppressing her, you at least need to be far better than the opponent in swordsmanship. As far as I know, the Phoenix Fairy's swordsmanship is not weak. At this point, he suddenly got stuck again. Because Lin Yulanzhen suddenly remembered that strength and weakness also depend on comparison. To them, Zhu Yingluyan's swordsmanship is not weak. But to Zisu, it may not be the case. According to her standards, our swordsmanship may not be very good. Seeing that the conversation could not continue, Ling Yunpo could only try to smooth things over again. Senior sister is right. When encountering Zhu Yingluyan's great light fire, if we can't take the initiative to attack, seize the rhythm, and let her use the great light fire, this fight is half lost. After the great light fire comes out, we can only try to fight with the sword. But just fighting is equivalent to fighting against the consumption of true energy. The opponent is practicing the Nine Heavens Pure Land Realm true words, and you will definitely not be able to fight against it in terms of true energy consumption. So, how to quickly lock Zhu Yingluyan's position and defeat him under the pressure of the great light fire is the remaining half of the chance of winning. There is nothing wrong with what he said. After all, the power of Zhu Yingluyan's great light fire was so great that even Qiu Changtian was helpless when he faced it. In the end, he won after relying on the Kunlun mirror to scan and lock the opponent. Therefore, everyone nodded in agreement, and began to silently estimate in their heart whether there was any large-scale Taoist magic on their flying swords that could resist the great light fire, or lock the opponent in the sea of fire. If you ask me, Kunlun is the only two people who are difficult to deal with, and the strength of the other cultivators is only on par with us. Julanfen Hai sneered. As for Penglai, drawing talismans and refining weapons is okay, and there is nothing to be afraid of in a fight. That's not necessarily true. Lin Yulanzhen frowned and said, I heard that there is a Luoyan in Penglai, who is outstanding in both swordsmanship and Taoism. Since he is outstanding, why didn't he show his skills when Penglai was perceived last time, so that his reputation is still unknown? Zisu asked back. Lin Yulanzhen was speechless. In fact, he also asked about the situation of Yu King Temple through his niece Lin Ruo. Lin Ruo did not hide her own strength and praised the strength of Luoyan and others, but Lin Yulanzhen originally felt that this niece was not strong, so he was also a little skeptical about her evaluation. But after Zisu said this, everyone was speechless, so they chatted politely again and then said goodbye and left. Senior sister. After everyone left, Ling Yunpo blamed, Senior sister, why are you so arrogant? Even if you don't take the Kunlun and Penglai monks seriously, you shouldn't say it directly, which makes it difficult for everyone to step down. Zisu was at a loss for words and could only say gently, this time it's senior sister, not me. I just think that the Baiyujing competition hasn't started yet, and I haven't seen anyone yet, so why do you suddenly scare yourself? What you said is not without reason, senior sister. Ling Yunpo said helplessly, but as far as I know, whether it is Qiu Changtian or Luoyan, they are actually not mediocre people. Senior sister, you'd better not underestimate them. Really? Zisu thought, so what they said is true. Ling Yunpo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So senior sister, do you really think they're exaggerating? Both of my vests are very brave, okay. Never mind. Zisu waved his hand indifferently. Master said that no matter how strong or weak the enemy is, we have to fight with the sword in our hands to confirm it. The reason why senior sister didn't give me face just now is that I was afraid that they would boost others' ambitions and destroy their own prestige. As long as you don't listen to them, and get scared when you meet those people in the competition, then senior sister won't say anything later. Ling Yunpo was speechless. After all, it turned out that senior sister deliberately sang against Lin Yulanzhen and the others just because she was afraid that I would lose confidence. However, with senior sister's strength, it is indeed enough to despise them. Ling Yunpo said with a smile. Junior brother, please don't say anything, and Zisu said with a smile, I'm not really sure either. But during the competition, no matter how strong the opponent is, just give it your all in this Baiyujing competition. Let's fight hard and try to win the first and second place, so that our master who is in seclusion can also save face. I just said that the Shushan high-level officials were too arrogant and wanted to take half of the seats in the Biusian competition, but my senior sister's tone was even more arrogant and she directly booked the first and second place. Although he was secretly complaining in his heart, in order to play the role of an unyielding person, Ling Yunpo couldn't sing against her. He just showed a firm and unyielding look in his eyes, clenched his fist and said, "Okay. If senior sister wins the first place this time, I will definitely take the second place in the competition." Chapter 406 of Senior Sister and Learns the Truth. During the time he stayed in Shushan, Ling Yunpo continued to practice swordsmanship with Nzisu. It must be said that in terms of swordsmanship alone, he was no match for his senior sister. This was too outrageous, because although he entered King Luo Peak later, he practiced 5 lines in parallel, and in terms of the number of years of cultivation, he had actually surpassed senior sister Anne. It can only be said that senior sister's natural swordsmanship is really amazing. In addition to swordsmanship practice, Ling Yunpo also had to learn footwork with his senior sister. The dividing cloud back US step was an ancient footwork that the crazy sword immortal had found in the giant tree secret realm last time, and was later obtained by Ling Yunpo and Nzisu when they accidentally entered the cave. When swordsmen want to move around in battle, they often use the sword control technique. Although the sword control technique is convenient, it requires the mind to control it, and it is not so flexible to use. After learning the dividing cloud back US step, Ling Yunpo can move around with footwork in a small space, and is more agile and light in dodging and moving. The burst speed in short distances is even faster than the sword control technique. Because of her natural swordsmanship, senior sister Am's learning progress is much ahead of Ling Yunpo, but Ling Yunpo has a natural sword bone, and his explosive power and speed when he uses his footwork are better than senior sister Am, so the two of them chased each other and competed with each other enthusiastically. After practicing footwork, Ling Yunpo began to study the method of refining the external incarnation. In the Great Master's Secret Sutra, the description of the external incarnation is very obscure. For example, it says here, it is like a bright mirror, which can see the color image, clearly and distinctly. All kinds of differences of the image in the mirror. What this means is that the external incarnation is the mirror image of the original body, and one must always keep the difference between the original body and the incarnation, and cannot mistake the incarnation for the original body. Jin, do you think I understand it correctly? Ling Yunpo asked in a low voice. Right. Kumlin Jing said lazily. What's your attitude? Ling Yunpo said dissatisfiedly. Compared to this, I'm more concerned about another point. Kumlin Mirror suddenly said, have you noticed that senior sister An seems to hate Qiu Chang's Hyan? Of course I have noticed. Ling Yunpo replied, senior sister hates people who pretend to be cruel, and Qiu Chang's Hyan's style is really too high. It's not that she hates people who pretend to be cool. King Ping Sword interrupted, she just feels that why Qiu Chang's Hyan can be so popular, while junior brother Lin, who has the same ability, can only be so unknown, so she feels unfair. Ling Yunpo was silent for a moment, and said, is this pure speculation, or have you discovered something? Just treat it as a guess. King Ping Sword chuckled, if you want evidence, I can't produce it. This is not important. Kumlin Mirror said, the key is the upcoming Biusian competition, what will you do as Qiu Chang Tian? If Qiu Chang Tian loses, it will bring a lot of trouble to the character setting. Ling Yunpo thought for a moment, and said in a deep voice, so Qiu Chang Tian must win the first place in the competition. Do you know what this means? Kumlin Jing said faintly, this means that Qiu Chang Tian has to defeat Nzisu and Ling Yunpo at the same time. What do you think will happen to Nzisu's view of Qiu Chang Tian if you really win? Probably, Ling Yunpo smiled bitterly, probably very annoying. After all, Nzisu is a super protective senior sister, and being her junior brother is a very wonderful experience, but if you were a stranger who has nothing to do with her, you'll think that this female sword fairy must be very strong, otherwise, with her extremely upright character, she would have been killed long ago. What does it mean to protect a junior brother? It means that all good things should belong to the junior brother, and the junior brother must have been forced by you to make a mistake. If you make the junior brother unhappy, I will make you unhappy. Qiu Chang Tian's defeat of Nzisu may not have much impact. If he defeats Ling Yunpo and prevents him from getting the first place in the competition, Nzisu will definitely have a very bad impression of him. Protecting a junior brother is unreasonable. However, fortunately, Ling Yunpo can also persuade the senior sister a few words so that she will not go to Qiu Chang Tian for trouble, so there is nothing to be afraid of. Not to be feared. Kunlun Jin thought to himself, if one day, Zisu finds out that hateful and arrogant Kyo Chang's Han and honest and loyal junior brother Lin are actually the same person, I wonder how she will react. Well, Chen Gyonzhu thought he could get away safely, so he didn't think about it at all, so I won't remind him. It will be interesting to see him being chased by the senior sister with a sword. Ling Yunpo didn't think much about it, but just thought carefully for a moment, and then decided to start preparing to refine the external incarnation. Preparations are sufficient. Of course, the most important thing is that with our Jing and Kingpin helping to watch, there shouldn't be any problems, just like the last time he refined the Yangtze human pill. Just in case, Ling Yunpo went to the backyard again to check where senior sister was. At this time, Zisu was sitting in the pavilion by the stream in that backyard, trying to play a pipa, and the wine pot was placed on the table by her. Sister, you have a good taste. Ling Yunpo said with a smile, why did you suddenly start learning a musical instrument? I heard from Master that he knew a sword fairy who was very good at playing the pipa. Zisu replied, it is said that she can play the sound of metal and iron with the pipa, and even form sword energy, which is much more powerful than ordinary flying swords. So I want to try to study it for a while to see if it can help me in swordsmanship. Is that so? If it were any other time, Ling Yunpo would definitely discuss music with his sister, but at this time, it was more important to refine his incarnation alone, so he chatted with his sister for a few words and then returned to the Taoist temple alone. Since his sister was playing the pipa, she probably wouldn't have time to come to him for a while. However, just in case, he should go to the secret room before his master went into seclusion. Passing through the back hall and the corridor, going down all the way, he finally arrived at the secret room. In the past, during every festival, Zisu would bring him here to pray to Su Jian who was in seclusion, so he was very familiar with this place. Although he didn't think Su Jian could respond, Ling Yunpo still found a cushion and knelt down, and began to pray to Su Jian. Master, I, the disciple Ling Yunpo, will use this secret room to refine treasures. I hope Master can bless me. After the report, Su Jian in the secret room did not reply, and it must have been tacitly agreed. So Ling Yunpo put his legs together and sat cross-legged, placed the kindling divine pearl on his abdomen, and then began to circulate his true energy. Gradually, he entered the state of calm as still water recorded in the method. Then, Ling Yunpo began to visualize himself in his mind, and at the same time slowly penetrated the kindling divine pearl into the beads, constructing his own image in the beads. Chapter 407. Incarnation, the third flying sword. In the secret room, Ling Yunpo sat quietly, with the green spirit divine pearl suspended above his chest. Suddenly, he raised his right hand and slowly made a Taoist formula. Then the second, third, fourth, his hands fluttered like butterflies, continuously making one hand seal after another. The green spirit divine pearl also began to rotate at high speed, and a face slowly emerged from the surface of the bead. It was not Ling Yunpo's face, but Chen Gyonzhu's face. However, the two looked exactly the same, except that Ling Yunpo had the illusion of mirror flower and water moon, while this incarnation did not. Finally, Ling Yunpo made the last hand seal, and the green spirit divine pearl trembled for a moment, and suddenly hit his forehead. The moment it touched his skin, it melted in without any hindrance. Ling Yunpo had already noticed that the green spirit divine pearl was now in his sea of consciousness, suspended together with the Kunlun mirror. This is your incarnation. The light dog representing the Kunlun mirror circled around the kindling divine pearl and said with emotion, interesting, I think its greatest help is not in combat, but in your role-playing. Indeed. Kingping's sword also echoed, I think with the sword master's flexibility, you can definitely use the incarnation in many ways that we can never think of. Okay, Kingping, you can stop talking. Ling Yunpo said calmly, this is not flexibility, this is wisdom. He immersed his consciousness into the kindling divine pearl again and soon confirmed the use of the incarnation. The so-called incarnation does not refer to a clone, but to the continuation of one's own consciousness. Ordinary cultivators have a limited number of magic tools that can be controlled at the same time with their consciousness. Most cultivators can only concentrate on one use, that is, control one flying sword to attack. At most, they can control another flying sword under their feet to move. After all, using the sword control technique to move does not require complex trajectories, and the consumption of mental energy is relatively small. After special secret training, the monks of Shushan can control two flying swords to attack at the same time while ensuring the movement of the flying swords, which is the so-called double focus and two-handed sword control. To control more flying swords, only those with extraordinary talents can do it. However, the external incarnation can be used as a carrier to attach the spiritual consciousness to it and extend it, thus forming a spiritual consciousness core with low-level wisdom. In other words, after having an external incarnation, while Ling Yunpo can control 2 flying swords to attack, his incarnation will control the 3rd flying sword to cooperate and contain it, thus reaching the realm of controlling 3 swords at the same time. This 3rd flying sword is not directly controlled by Ling Yunpo's spiritual consciousness, but by the will of an incarnation that has the same thinking as Ling Yunpo. Therefore, he needs to keep his will synchronized with the incarnation at all times, and the simplest way is to nourish it in the sea of consciousness. If the avatar leaves the sea of consciousness for too long and fails to synchronize with the main will, it may develop an independent consciousness. To put it mildly, it is just the loss of an avatar, but in serious cases, the avatar may become hostile to the main body, or even ambush and plot against the main body, so as to seize his body and be reborn, so this thing actually has a great hidden risk. However, Ling Yunpo was not too worried about this. Because of the existence of Arjun, he really couldn't think of any situation that would require him to send out his avatar to lead the enemy away so that the main body could escape alone. This was the only situation he could think of that would allow the avatar to leave him for too long. After hiding the kindling divine pearl in the sea of consciousness, Ling Yunpo left the secret room and went to find senior sister in the backyard. The next thing to do is to find another flying sword as his 3rd flying sword. When he came to the backyard again, Ling Yunpo saw senior sister and drunk again, and she didn't know where she had thrown the original peeper. At this time, the elder sister's hair was disheveled, her clothes were slightly undone, and she was drunk. Seeing her younger brother Ling Yunpo coming over, she smiled and waved to him. "Come on, younger brother, accompany me to drink." "Why is elder sister so drunk again?" Ling Yunpo frowned and said, and hurried over to help her pull her collar and tidy up her appearance. "As an elder sister, how can you ignore your dignity?" Stop talking nonsense." Zisu pretended to be majestic and scolded, and then smiled sweetly, put her white jade arm around his neck, hooked his shoulders. "I'm an elder sister, you have to listen to me." Ling Yunpo smiled awkwardly on his face, but sneered in his heart, complaining that Zisu, except for protecting her shortcomings and being good at fighting, was not like an elder sister at all. "Master." Zisu suddenly lowered her head again and said bitterly, "It's the Bayujing competition, when can you come out?" Hearing her crying in a low voice, Ling Yunpo's originally cold and hard mood couldn't help but soften. During this time without a master, senior sister carried the entire King Luo peak on her shoulders alone. I think she must have been exhausted. Under such heavy pressure, if she could use alcohol to relieve her sorrow, it would not be considered an excessive bad habit. Just thinking about this, Zisu stood up again and said, "Let's go, junior brother, let's practice swords." "Practice swords?" Zisu covered her forehead, as if enduring dizziness, and said slowly, "Junior brother, if what Lin Yulanzhen and the others said is true, then this time you want to defeat Qiu Chang Tian, Zhu Yinglyan and Zhu Yan in the Bayujing competition, you need to, well, make proper and sufficient preparations. Next, let's train well." She smiled again. Ling Yunpo was very familiar with this smile of senior sister. Generally speaking, if senior sister is in a bad mood, she will often choose to drink to relieve her sorrow. But if drinking still can't relieve her depression, then she will choose to practice swords of course. Ling Yunpo is her only designated sparring partner at this time. Fortunately, senior sister is the kind of person who is extremely protective of her, so as a junior brother, he will not get hurt by sparring with her. He will only suffer. Thinking of the previous times when he was exhausted by senior sister, Ling Yunpo immediately showed a bitter face and changed the subject. "Senior sister, I accidentally got an incarnation here, and now I want to get another flying sword. Do you have any good ideas?" Incarnation? Even if Zisu was carefree, he was not fooled this time. He was even half awakened by the drunkenness and asked in shock, "Where did you get it? Don't you have to refine that thing yourself?" Ahem. Ling Yunpo didn't expect senior sister to be serious this time, so he could only explain perfunctorily, "It was just coincidence that I got the refining method. And accidentally, I refined an incarnation. That's why I came to bother you this time." Zisu was really diverted by the last sentence, and said angrily, "How can asking senior sister for help be called bothering? When did I teach you to be polite? It's not that there are no flying swords in the temple, but there are no 10th level immortal swords. Other swords are fine for you to travel, but they are not enough to be used in the sword competition. How about this, let's go to the sword pool and apply for another one." "That's great." Ling Yunpo clapped his hands and smiled. Of course, it's not that he didn't want to go to the sword pool to get a sword, but he just used it as a topic to let senior sister know that he got an external incarnation. Sure enough, although Nzisu was very surprised, she still believed his carefully prepared excuse and did not delve into the matter. This is the innate consideration and tenderness of the senior sister. If it was the annoying Mishi, curiosity would surge up, and she would have to use 108 kinds of coquettish secrets to pester you to ask for clarification. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 408. 3 Swords vs. 2 Swords. Crush and Nzisu and Ling Yunpo flew their swords side by side, passing through the mountains covered with flowers, and finally arrived above the sword pond. Ling Yunpo suddenly remembered that when he first entered the sect, he was taken away by Nzisu near the sword pond. At the time, the attitude of the senior sister towards him was still very cold, and she just asked him whether he is willing to worship under the King Luo Peak. When he agreed without knowing why, senior sister immediately showed a bright smile, and her expression changed as fast as sequin opera. After living in King Luo Peak for a while, the original one-sided care of the senior sister for the junior brother gradually turned into mutual attachment. Ling Yunpo felt that he did not do anything, but Nzisu's favorability increased very quickly. Maybe the identity of the junior brother has a special attack blessing for her. She should be at brother control. When they landed at the edge of the sword pond, 2 guarding disciples came forward and said with a smile, "Why are the sword immortals Feon and Poon come in?" Sword immortals Feon? Nzisu was a little surprised, and only heard Ling Yunpo come forward and say, "We're here to get the swords. Please come this way, both of you." The disciples immediately made way. The 2 continued towards the sword pond, and Ling Yunpo chatted with the senior sister. In the past, in order to show respect to their sword immortals on the immortal sword list, the disciples of Shushan usually did not call them by their names directly, but used their natal swords or nicknames as pronouns. For example, Nzisu, because her natal sword was originally the Frost Sword, she should be called Frost Sword Immortal. Of course, in fact, it is more common to call her Grass-Cutting Sword Immortal. Now her natal sword has been changed to the Flying Smoke Sword. This matter was known to the disciples in the first month competition, so everyone called her Flying Smoke Sword Immortal again. In a sense, it shows that the reputation of the senior sister in the sect has begun to improve. After hearing Ling Yunpo's explanation, Nzisu was a little embarrassed and protested. "Who gave you the nickname of the grass-cutting sword fairy?" "I've already said that this nickname is not accurate at all." "Don't worry, senior sister," Ling Yunpo said with a smile, "as long as your reputation gets better and better, everyone will always remember the nickname of Flying Smoke Sword Fairy." "Flying Smoke Sword Fairy, this name is not very nice," Nzisu sighed. Ling Yunpo was speechless. At this time, she didn't pay attention to her reputation, but instead considered whether the nickname was good or not. It turned out that senior sister also had such a little girl's personality. Arriving at the sword pool, Nzisu said with a smile, "Go, junior brother, and see which fairy sword is destined for you." Ling Yunpo looked at the pool water below and called out in his heart, "Kingping, give me a fairy sword. It must be a 10th level one, don't mix in low level ones." "No problem, Master Sword Master." Kingping's sword giggled, "May I ask what the 5 elements are like?" "What are the characteristics of the flying sword?" "Do you want a sword spirit?" 5 elements, Ling Yunpo thought for a moment. Kingping is water, Lady Li is gold, which restrain fire and wood respectively. Only earth-based Taoism is difficult to deal with. Then let's get a wood-based one first. This time it's for the incarnation to use, so the characteristic should be as flexible and good at restraining as possible. No need for a sword spirit. I can't stand the 3 sword spirits chirping at the time. Okay. Kingping sword agreed. The water in the sword pool suddenly swirled and rolled, and water splashed in the vortex. Soon a drop of water rushed out, turned into a green sword light in the air, and stopped in front of Ling Yunpo. Nzisu carefully identified it for a moment and said, "This seems to be the 1,000 pines and 10,000 bamboos sword." 1,000 pines and 10,000 bamboos? Ling Yunpo asked in surprise. In ancient times, there was a sword cultivator named Penguin Tinran, and the 1,000 pines and 10,000 bamboo sword was his sword. Nzisu replied, "It is said that he collected the wood essence of thousands of pine trees and tens of thousands of bamboos in Shenzhou, and refined it with many secret materials. The most magical thing about this sword is that it can be transformed into thousands and besieged in groups. Only one of the immortal swords is the main body, and the rest of the flying swords are transformed by sword energy. As long as it is not bombarded by large-scale Taoist magic, or the main body is locked and severely damaged, the remaining sword energy will not be destroyed, and the true essence can be regenerated at any time. I see. Ling Yunpo nodded, thinking that this sword is quite suitable for being controlled by an external incarnation. Let's go back and try. Seeing that Ling Yunpo had obtained the immortal sword, Zisu was also eager to try. Okay. Ling Yunpo knew it was difficult to refuse, so he simply agreed. The two left the sword pool, controlled the sword light to fall down the mountain, and found a flat area in the valley around to prepare for sparring. The reason for choosing to be on the ground is that both of them have practiced the dividing cloud backward step, and it is much more flexible to move on the ground than to control the sword. Ling Yunpo pulled out the Kingping sword and the Lizi sword, suspended on the left and right sides respectively, and pulled out a posture to prepare for the battle. The Kingling Divine Pearl was attached to the hilt of the Kyansung Wangju sword, also hiding it behind Ling Yunpo, ready to launch a clever sneak attack at any time. Zisu smiled and shot out the Feian sword and the Hanli sword, one red and one blue, on the left and right, waiting for Ling Yunpo to take the initiative to attack. I'm going to go, senior sister. Ling Yunpo said loudly. Come on. Zisu said with a smile. The thunder sword shot out, but was blocked by the flying smoke sword. The Kingping sword attacked in an arc, but was quickly blocked by the cold sword as if it had expected it. Both of them used two-handed sword control techniques. Four sword lights, red, blue, white and black, crossed and struck each other in the air like lightning, sparks flew, and the sound shook 100 miles. This is the daily sword practice of Ling Yunpo and Zisu. No sword techniques, just swordsmanship, competing in reaction speed, rhythm control, and even psychological games. After all, the speed of the flying sword is extremely fast, and if you are not careful, you will be defeated immediately. However, Ling Yunpo has an external incarnation and an extra sword, so Zisu has to play extremely conservatively, always on guard against his junior brother using the third sword to attack. Ling Yunpo attacked for a while, and seeing that his senior sister remained calm and did not reveal any flaws, he could only change his mind slightly, and let the Kyansung Wangju sword suddenly pop out from behind, turning into a huge amount of sword energy in the air, and shooting down towards Zisu. Zisu's face remained unchanged, and the Feian sword had already soared into the sky, and the sword's Taoist magic was activated, shooting large handfuls of flames in all directions. The sword energy and their flames collided, and there were crisp sounds like explosions everywhere. Senior sister, you used the sword's Taoist magic. Ling Yunpo said with a smile. If you don't use the Taoist magic, so much sword energy can't be resisted. Zisu said truthfully. I see. Ling Yunpo pinched the Taoist formula and activated the sword's Taoist magic. Green mist covers the Kanshan mountains of the Kingping sword. The boundless fog rose up in an instant, and the power of the non-water Taoist magic was halved, so that the fire Taoist magic on the Feian sword activated by senior sister and was instantly suppressed by more than half. Zisu was silent for a moment, and suddenly said, I admit defeat. 2 swords against 3 swords, her disadvantage is too big, and it is not possible to save it by relying on her natural sword heart and sword skills. The only way to break the situation is to use the sword method to disrupt the rhythm of the situation, and then use surprise sword skills to kill, but the intensity of the battle is too high, uncontrollable, and easy to bleed, so it is not necessary. Why did you admit defeat so quickly, senior sister? Ling Yunpo thought for a moment, and then said, why don't I use my external incarnation this time, and fight with senior sister with 2 swords, junior brother? Zisu said softly, with this external incarnation, I think Yu Changtai must not be your opponent. What you have to do next is not to continue to hone your sword skills with me with 2 swords, but to familiarize yourself with the combat methods and styles of 3 swords as soon as possible. Ling Yunpo was silent for a moment, and then smiled. That's right, then senior sister will continue to practice with me. Of course. Zisu smiled gently. Chapter 409. This senior sister is very cautious. In the valley, sword energy was everywhere. The two fought from noon to dusk. At first, senior sister lost every game, but as she gradually adapted to the rhythm of 2 swords against 3 swords, her winning rate began to slowly rise. By dusk, the winning rate had returned to 50-50, which made Ling Yunpo couldn't help but smack his lips. Is this because of the outrageous talent of Tianxin Jiangxing, or is it because senior sister and swordsmanship attainments are outrageous? However, through the sparring with senior sister Anne, Ling Yunpo also discovered the weaknesses of his own fighting style. Logically speaking, using 3 swords to fight 2 swords should be a huge advantage. For example, if I use 2 swords to entangle your 2 swords respectively, and then use the 3rd sword to kill you, what can you use to block it? But in fact, it is possible to block 2 swords with 1 sword. The premise is that the range of one's own flying sword is very small, so that after blocking this sword, you can immediately move to block another sword. The tactics adopted by senior sister were not the 7 killing sword school moves that emphasized attack, but a move from the Shushan 2-handed sword controlling technique, called advance and retreat. First, she protected her body with the cold sword, focused on defense, and did not leave the square inch. Second, she attacked with all her strength with the flying smoke sword, not fighting with other flying swords, but just chasing Ling Yunpo. The 2 swords separated, one attacking and one defending, is advance and retreat. Ling Yunpo had to leave the Kingping sword to defend himself in order to deal with the pursuit of the flying smoke sword. At the same time, in order to avoid being beaten without fighting back, he dragged the Thunder Sword out to attack senior sister Anne. Then what about the Wanzhou sword controlled by the Incarnation? If she flew over to cooperate with the Thunder Sword to attack Zisu from 2 directions, senior sister Anne would dance the cold sword tightly, use a small range of movement to reduce the disadvantage of being attacked by the 2 swords, and at the same time intensify the offensive of the flying smoke sword, adding a lot of pressure to Ling Yunpo's defense. Ling Yunpo could not take down the enemy for a long time, and his own defense line was shaky, so he could only withdraw the 10,000 bamboo sword and cooperate with the Kingping sword to resist the Fei'an sword, so the original violent offensive of the senior sister was quickly curbed. The crisis around him was relieved, so Ling Yunpo naturally had to withdraw the 10,000 bamboo sword and fly over to attack the senior sister again. But as soon as the 10,000 bamboo sword left, Zisu would repeat the old trick and defend with the cold sword again, while using the Fei'an sword to intensify the offensive, forcing Ling Yunpo to continue to withdraw the 10,000 bamboo sword to rescue. In short, if you hit me, I will take the posture of exchanging injuries and force you to rescue. Ling Yunpo would like to call it the exchange tactics. Since senior sister Anne adopted the exchange tactics, after more than a dozen games, the winning rate is now about 50-50. In the few games that he won, Ling Yunpo finally took advantage of the pincer attack of the Thunder Sword and the 10,000 bamboo sword, penetrated the defense of the cold sword, and passed the sword tip to the throat of the senior sister. In the few games he lost, Ling Yunpo had not yet penetrated his sister's defense, and his own defense line had a loophole, and Fei'an's sword pierced through the sword path and pressed against his neck. Did you notice? Ling Yunpo just lost another game, and Kingping sword finally couldn't help but said, the real strength of your sister is not the natural sword heart itself, but that she is very good at maximizing her own advantages and offsetting her own disadvantages as much as possible. Her strengths are that her sword skills are deeper than yours, and her sword skills experience is richer than yours. Her disadvantage is that she can control fewer flying swords than you. So she deliberately separated the 2 swords, forcing you to separate and control the 2 swords, and eliminating the possibility of a 3-sword attack from the beginning. I see. I saw it a long time ago. Ling Yunpo suddenly realized and immediately sneered, in this case, I have to play to my strengths. Speaking of which, what are the strengths of natural sword bones? Well, it is the increased resistance to sword energy and sword intent, which can resonate with flying swords and has a stronger ability to control flying swords. In this case, seeing Ling Yunpo mumbling in silence, Zisu did not argue him, but took out a handkerchief and wiped the sweat from her face and neck. She was a Shushan cultivator, her body had been cleansed and her veins had been cut, so sweating was not for heat dissipation, but because of excessive mental and physical exhaustion, and the body's instinctive reaction under fatigue and exhaustion, just like some people sweat easily when they are nervous. I'm fine. Ling Yunpo suddenly raised his head and smiled, sister, do you want to take a break and relax? No need. Zisu said softly, brother, come on. Okay. Ling Yunpo laughed and shot out 3 swords at the same time. The Kingping sword went on the left, the Li Zi sword went on the right, and the Wanzhou sword drew an arc from above. The 3 swords attacked Zisu from 3 directions, without blocking the Fei'an sword shot by the senior sister. Zisu quickly urged the Fei'an sword, drawing a hot line of fire in the air, and crashed straight into Ling Yunpo's chest. Then, the 2 of them suddenly stopped their flying swords at the same time. Looking carefully, the 3 swords were flying faster and would hit Zisu first. I lost. Zisu put away his sword and frowned, all attack and no defense. How did you come up with this tactic? Sister, isn't our 7-kill swordsmanship about attacking instead of defending? Ling Yunpo asked back. Indeed. Zisu nodded, but the premises are real life and death fight. If it was in the Byujing competition, you would use this trick to exchange your life for the opponent's injury, which is actually not worth it. Remember? The secret realm mechanism of Byujing is to prevent the trial taker from being seriously injured and killed, that is, you will be teleported out of the battlefield in advance at the moment before being killed. But the non-fatal damage you suffer in the competition will continue to accumulate. In other words, you must not only prevent yourself from being killed and defeated, but also try to stay uninjured and win. Otherwise, if the injuries accumulate too heavily and there is no time to recover before the next competition, it will inevitably affect your subsequent performance. Senior sister, I naturally know. Ling Yunpo said calmly, but if I meet someone who is stronger than me, even if I focus on defense and counterattack, the opponent may not give me a chance. On the contrary, if I choose to attack without defenser, the opponent will either be forced to return to defenser with all his strength, or exchange damage with me. If he chooses the former, I can use the tactical advantages of the 7-killing sword technique and the 3 swords of the same control. If he chooses the latter, with the strength of my natural sword bone and the dodge of the dividing cloud back you a step, he may not be seriously injured. Ling Yunpo talked freely, while Zisu fell silent and hung her head. She suddenly remembered that she also understood the principles of her junior brother. After all, this is the tactical style that Master Sujian is best at. There is attack but no defenser, and attack instead of defenser. When Ling Yunpo joined King Luo Peak, it was Zisu who personally demonstrated this violent and swift fighting style to him by words and deeds. But at the time, Zisu could still teach him to seize the initiative and take a risk. But now Zisu, whose mentality has changed at some point, is unwilling to let his junior brother suffer any harm. Even if it is just possible to be hurt. No. Zisu suddenly frowned and said seriously, I'm not saying that I don't want you to choose the all attack no defense tactic, senior sister, I think that all attack no defenser can only be used as a last resort, and it can't be used casually. What if you're unlucky and really get seriously injured? How about this, I will help you design a set of 3-sword combined attack technique based on the theory of two-handed sword control, specifically for those powerful enemies that you can't deal with. But junior brother, you have to promise senior sister that you will never easily choose the all attack no defenser style of play, okay? Ling Yunpo couldn't help but feel puzzled when he heard her say this. Senior sister, you taught me things before, but you didn't set any conditions or make any exchanges. However, seeing that senior sister Ram's eyes, as gentle as autumn water, were rarely filled with a trace of begging and compassion, Ling Yunpo felt his heart suddenly twitch and felt very uncomfortable. Okay. He quickly agreed, and said firmly, I'll promise you, senior sister. From now on, unless there is really no other way out, I will never easily adopt an all-out attack without any defenser. Chapter 410 What to do when someone from my mother's family comes. After the two returned to King Luo Peak, they continued to practice swordsmanship until late at night. It is not so easy to design a set of 3-sword combined attack technique. Because even the Shushan two-handed sword control technique was not created from scratch, but was improved on the basis of generations. However, since the external incarnation has almost no possibility of passing down from generation to generation, the specific details of the 3-sword combined attack technique have not been passed down in any words. Zisu said that she probably has a clue, but Ling Yunpo didn't know whether she really had an idea or just to comfort herself and teach herself not to take risks easily. Back in his room, Ling Yunpo sorted out the abilities he had at hand again. At present, Ling Yunpo can openly use the external incarnation, the 3 swords at the same time, and the Cloud 8 trigrams step. In fact, there is also that Tiashang Sunday and Moon Hunyuan Sutra learned from the trip to Byujing, and the Locking Demon Tower order awarded by the headmaster after discovering the secret realm of Byujing. The official key refining technique of Shushan is Tiashang Hunyuan Xingla, which is a castrated version of Tiashang Ryu Hunyuan Jing. Because Sujian was in seclusion, he and senior sister only had the skills of the foundation building realm, but not the skills of the Jindan and Jindan realms. Now that they have obtained the Tiashang Ryu Hunyuan Jin, senior sister Ram's original situation of not being able to practice breathing and perfecting the Purple Palace and making no progress in cultivation due to the lack of the Jindan skills after Sujian's seclusion has now been completely solved. As for the Demon Locking Tower order, it means that you can enter the Demon Locking Tower once. The resources in the Demon Locking Tower are very rich, but Ling Yunpo is not short of resources at this time. What he really lacks is the scarce resources of the top level. It is unwise to rashly use this opportunity to enter the demon locking tower without thinking about what you want. At present, Ling Yunpo's plan is to wait until Long Long gets familiar with the Dragon Fox, and then find out all kinds of Dragon Clan secrets from the Kanglong clan, and then use the locking demon tower order as Ling Yunpo, using the existence of the Dragon Fox as evidence to exchange the corresponding secrets with Yinglong. In addition, the remaining miscellaneous gains will not be mentioned here for the time being. Comparing the two sides, it can be clearly found that Ling Yunpo's fighting style is completely different from that of Qiu Changtai and Luo Yan. Qiu Changtai is good at both swordsmanship and Taoism. Swordsmanship lies in the vigorous true essence, and he also has the Tianyuan Yeki sword given by the Tianan Zhu family. In the future, he will take the Qi's own route of direct confrontation. Taoism is the Five Thunders orthodox law that is good at attacking, plus the many derivative Taoism of Nine Heavens King Wei entering the true words. The comprehensive combat power is the strongest among all the sectings. Luo Yan is good at both magic weapons and Taoism. The Taoist method is the acquired five elements extinction divine light, which is more powerful than Qiu Changtai's Five Thunders method at this stage. The magic weapon is the heavenly craft treasure bag passed down to him by Elder Shi Ding. This thing is based on the storage magic weapon treasure bag, and was redesigned by Elder Shi Ding, and a large number of magic weapons were stuffed into it. Compared with Qiu Changtai's strong, Luo Yan's fighting style is probably all-round, that is, he is good at dealing with various situations. Ling Yunpo's side is extremely specialized in the sword sect style of the sword control technique. Whether it is the external incarnation or the dividing cloud 8 diagram step, it will eventually be combined with the sword control technique. His characteristic is fast, of course not the kind of fast that men hate, but the fast overall tactical style. Either one-hit kill, or find an opportunity in the entanglement and containment, and suddenly hit kill. This is also that fighting style of most Shushan sword immortals, but Ling Yunpo's King Luo peak lineage is particularly good at this. As for Wei Dongliu and Long Long, since they are not participating in this Baiyuzheng competition, they will not be mentioned for the time being. In this competition, first of all, Qiu Changtai has an invincible character, so he must get first place. Secondly, it doesn't matter who ranks higher between Ling Yunpo and Luo Yan, but if you have a choice, it's better for Ling Yunpo to be in the lead, because if Luo Yan defeats Ling Yunpo, I don't know what senior sister An, who protects him, will think. Ling Yunpo naturally doesn't want senior sister to be enemies with his other character. After all, Qiu Changtai has already given Anzisu a very bad first impression. Finally, there is the issue of the intersection of several characters. Cunning, Shushan, and Penglai, the three characters have their own networks of contacts in the three sects of the Orthodox Church. I should try to avoid too much overlap in the networks of the three people, and try to ensure that everyone in the network of contacts has long-term contact with only one of my characters. Otherwise, if I contact my two characters at the same time, what if I find something in common between them? Arjun is very confident in his mirror flowers and water moons, but he naturally can't pin all his hopes on Arjun's illusions not to be flawed. At present, the ones who need to be most wary are Zesu, Zhu Yingyan and Shiluli. The reason is that these sisters and juniors have been with him the longest and are most familiar with his personality, so they need to be especially careful. However, before the Baiyuzheng competition begins, there is still one thing to do. That is to go to Linglong, hug the cute little fox, adjust your mood, and welcome the Baiyuzheng competition in the most perfect state. Jin, go to Linglong. Ling Yunpo said in a deep voice. Kumlin Jin did not ask much, but patiently announced. Point 5. Dong Huang Realm, Dong Xiao, De Guan Wilderness, above Jian Mu. Character identity. Linglong. Mirror Flower Water Moon Templar covered, in the process of time and space shuttle. Jian Mu is the sacred tree of the Kanglong clan and their clan residents. It has a similar relationship with the Jingwu clan and the Fuzang sacred tree. The demon clan usually likes this kind of giant tree, not only for the need of living and defense, but also because they are very suitable as the holy land of the clan. Unlike human cultivators, the demon clan emphasizes clan culture and blood ties. In recent days, Long Long and Longu, who had just been naturalized, were taken by Qin Biao Wang, the patriarch of the Kanglong clan, to meet every elder in the clan. The elders were very enthusiastic about Long Long and Longu. They pulled Qin Biao Wang aside privately and asked, "Does this little fox really have the blood of our dragon clan?" Qin Biao Wang told them the results of the blood test, which showed half of the dragon clan, 1/4 of the fox clan, and 1/4 of the human clan. So the elders asked, "The proportion of dragon clan blood is twice that of the fox clan, Why is the appearance of a fox instead of a dragon? You can see that Long Long can show dragon scales, which is normal. This question stumped Qin Bio Wang, because the blood hall was not very clear, and they only guessed that her dragon blood seemed to be sealed. After all, considering the rank of the dragon blood, if it is not sealed, it will soon devour the blood of the Fox clan and the human clan. As for how to unlock the seal, Long Long asked Kunlun Mirror to cover up the sky-making stone pendant with an illusion, so the Kanglong monks of the Bloodliner Hall had no idea where to start. However, they soon had no time to worry about this matter. A sudden news. The Sky Fox clanning King Qiu, Shizaoyu, got the news of Dragon Fox from somewhere, and sent a clan elder of the Demon King realm, similar to the nascent soul realm of humans, to visit Thrust Thong Zhao, and specifically asked to see the little fox. When Dragon Fox heard the news, he was so scared that he hid in Long Long's room on the spot. Don't be afraid. Long Long touched her head. I guess you're here to recognize your relatives. Recognize your relatives? Long Lu blinked in confusion. Then, will you take me away? Long Long's expression suddenly froze, but he soon smiled again, with a firm and persistent light flashing in his eyes. Don't worry, Long Lu. As long as you don't want to, no one can take you away by force. Yes. Long Lu got into his arms and laid her head in his arms. Long Long checked the increase in the synchronization value of the personality setting, and then gently patted Long Lu's back. After coaxing the little fox to sleep, he carefully put her on the bed and covered her with a quilt. Then he quietly left the room and closed the door. He was going to find that clan leader Qin Bio Wang. Chapter 411. The scheming Ta Shan Jun. The existence of the dragon fox spread to Shizaoyu so quickly. It was obviously a secret leak from the Kanglong clan. The clan leader Qin Bio Wang was very angry, although it was useless to be angry. The Kanglong clan is a large demon clan, with tens of thousands of members at the bottom, so it is naturally impossible to govern them all. In fact, everyone knows that the clan must have been infiltrated by foreign clans. However, the eldest brother, let alone the second brother, the spies bought by the Kanglong clan are also spread across the major demon clans. Therefore, Qin Bio Wang just asked the criminal law hall to check itself according to the procedure, and then took Long Long to the reception room. The Fox clan elder came so quickly that the clan did not even have time to reach a consensus on how to deal with it. At present, Qin Bio Wang can only receive him first and find out the other party's intentions. If the other party asks about the dragon fox, Long Long, who is more familiar with her, will answer on his behalf, but it is impossible to let the elder see the dragon fox before confirming the situation. Arriving at the reception room, Long Long saw that the Fox clan elder was actually a beautiful woman with a graceful figure and outstanding appearance. And he looked familiar. Oh, it was the Ta Shan Jun, the elder of the Donghuang sect, Li, who was really an old acquaintance. Long Long calmly withdrew his gaze, and only heard Li greeted with a smile. Brother Qin, how are you? Long time no see, Ta Shan Jun. Qin Bio Wang also smiled and asked her to sit down, and called the waiter to serve tea, as if he had no idea why she came. This is, Li's eyes fell on Long Long, and she seemed to be unaware of his identity. This was of course also pretending. Although she did not recognize that this person was Qiu Chang's Hainan Wei Dongliu, whom she had dealt with before, but through the secret information of the Dragon Clan, she had long known that this Long Long was the one who brought Long Hu to join the Dragon Clan, and was also Long Hu's closest person. Long Long. Qin Bio Wang used the cup lid to shake off the tea stems and foam floating on the surface, and said slowly, haven't you met Ta Shan Jun yet? Junior has met Ta Shan Jun. Long Long hurriedly stood up and saluted. No need to be polite. Li waved his hand kindly, and took out a magic weapon from his sleeve, which was a golden ball with two coiled dragons on the surface. It just so happens that I accidentally found something in Beiyuan, and it seems to have some origins with the Dragon Clan. Let's treat it as a gift for you, a junior. Is that the coiled dragon gold bead? Qin Bio Wang said in surprise. Really? I didn't know. Li stuck the golden ball into Long Long's hand. Seeing that Qin Bio Wang did not say anything to stop him, the latter hurriedly bowed to thank him. Qin Bio Wang and Li chatted for a while, from the generations of friendship between the Kanglong and Tianhu clans to the current situation on the mainland of the East Empire realm, and then talked about the interesting stories of several strange predecessors in the family. They talked about everything without any purpose, and Long Long was also confused. He almost thought that this Fox clan elder really came to chat. Fortunately, Qin Bio Wang saw that it was getting late, so he asked Li to stay for dinner. This time Willie finally couldn't bear it anymore, or maybe he felt the time was right, so he pretended to be sad, wiped his tears and said, "To be honest, I came here this time because I heard that my poor niece is still alive, so I came to find her." Qin Biowang's expression did not change, but he asked curiously, "Oh? I wonder who in the clan told Ta Shanjun about this." Willie smiled and reported a name Qin that Long Long did not recognize. Long Long listened quietly, thinking that the name Willie reported must be a spy hired by the Sky Fox clan from Kanglong, but it was definitely not the spy who actually leaked the Dragon Fox news. Maybe he was using Qin Biowang's hand to eliminate the disloyal people among the spies. Qin Biowang obviously knew the truth, so he silently wrote down the name and said, "Longyu, indeed, there is a new member who joined our tribe with this name. But Ta Shanjun, I have never heard of you having such a niece." His tone was curious and playful, but Willie seemed not to hear his teasing, and just whispered, "I have a sister, a cousin. Of course, it was a long, long time ago, so long ago that even in our tribe, not many people know about it." "Yeah." Qin Biowang did not comment. "She has half human blood." Willie continued. Qin Biowang frowned slightly. Only a few members of the tribe knew about Longhu's bloodliner. Where did Willie get this information? If it was just the fox bloodliner or the human bloodliner, it could have been successfully fused with the dragon bloodliner to give birth to normal offspring. Willie sighed and said with regret, "But my cousin has both. I don't know why, but the two bloodliners in my newly born niece have combined to resist the fusion of the dragon bloodliner. The coexistence of three bloodliners is extremely fatal and will seriously damage her health. Therefore, in order to prevent my daughter from dying young, my sister had to betray that family and secretly take away the clue to the whereabouts of a secret treasure." Qin Biowang's expression finally became serious, because what Willie said at this time was information that the Dragon Clan did not know. According to the Bloodliner Hall, the Dragon Fox has 3 bloodliners, and the Dragon Bloodliner has the largest proportion and the highest rank. It should devour the other 2 bloodliners and purify the Dragon Fox into a dragon species. But for some reason, the Dragon Bloodliner was sealed by the outside world, allowing the remaining stronger Fox Bloodliner to be expressed, and also turning the Dragon Fox into a fox. According to Willie, the Dragon Bloodliner cannot devour the bloodliners of the human race and the fox race, causing the 3 kinds of blood to fight in the body, endangering the life of the Dragon Fox. Then there is a reasonable explanation for why the Dragon Bloodliner in her body was sealed. Of course, there is another problem with this explanation, that is, it only explains the origin of the Dragon Fox's mother, but does not say who the Dragon Fox's father is. With the Dragon Bloodliner level in the Dragon Fox, its father's cultivation level must be ridiculously high, but the Jialong clan does not have such a candidate at all. If there is, how could this clan still be dormant in the Beiming Fanyang secret realm? But if what Willie said is true, her cousin is a person from a long time ago, then the birth date of the Dragon Fox and the age of its father's existence should also be pushed forward accordingly, then immediately a famous possibility will emerge from Qin Biowang's memory. Impossible. What am I thinking? He hurriedly shook the thought from his mind, and soon found a more obvious doubt. The lifespan of the demon race is much longer than that of humans, but the premise is that the cultivation level is high enough. How could the Dragon Fox survive from a long, long time ago to today when it can't even transform? Long Long was silent beside him, and he was also calculating quickly in his heart. Now it seems that Willie is most likely the aunt of the Dragon Fox. But why did she tell Qin Biowang in detail about the origin of the Dragon Fox? It's okay for her mother to be a fox, but her father Yinglong is no small figure. If she thinks that this can prove her relationship with the Dragon Fox, so that Qin Biowang is willing to hand over the Dragon Fox to her, then she is too naive. Wait, her. Long Long reversed his thinking and instantly thought of another possibility. What if Willie revealed these things not to prove that the Dragon Fox's mother was her cousin, but to imply that the Dragon Fox's father was the Yinglong Majesty? In other words, if Qin Biowang knew that the Dragon Fox was the daughter of the Yinglong, would he be afraid of the Dragon Fox? Or would he have stronger ambitions? Chapter 412. If you still want to hug a fox. The conversation between the two ended very quickly. Long Long did not interrupt the conversation at all. In fact, when Willie hinted that the Dragon Fox was born a long, long time ago and made Qin Biowang think of a certain possibility, it was destined that he would thoroughly investigate in this direction afterwards. No matter how he interrupted, diverted or even misled Qin Biowang's thinking, he could not give up the idea of thoroughly investigating the origin of the Dragon Fox. As for what would happen after the truth was found out, it was not difficult to guess. If it were tens of thousands of years ago, the Kanglong clan might still be afraid of her princess identity. But now that Emperor Yinglong has become a legend, the Jialong clan has long lost power and was forced to survive in the Beiming Fanyan, and the Kanglong clan is already the leader of the Dragon clan in the world. The identity of the Dragon Fox is only a huge benefit that can be used purely in terms of legality. If we deduce in this direction, since the Tianhu clan behind Li also knows this secret, and the Dragon Fox also has the blood of the Tianhu, it means that the two clans have a secret that needs to be kept together and interests that can be shared, that is, the natural basis for an alliance. TSK, some time ago, I said in the clan school that the Kanglong clan should secretly unite with Shizhou. I didn't expect that my words would come true today. Qin Biao ordered the waiter to take Li to the guest room to sleep, and then he smiled and said to Long Long, "The Panlong Xia Jinju given to you by Ta Shanjin is a kind of ancient strange magic weapon that can attract or repel all gold and iron objects. It has great restraining power against iron flying swords, gold magic weapons, and similar bloodliner magical powers. Thank you, clan leader, for clearing up my doubts." Long Long tried to be sincere. "It's getting late, you can go back and rest." Qin Biao waved his hand. Long Long said goodbye and left. When he returned to the room, he found that the Dragon Fox who was lying down to rest had disappeared. This was also within his expectations, because if the Dragon Fox was really the blood of His Majesty Yinglong, the first thing Qin Biao thought of was definitely to take her away and completely bring her under the control of the Kanglong clan. This kind of control may not be a rough restriction of personal freedom, but can also be a soft exclusion of other influences, such as trying to keep her away from those with whom she is closely related. Because, if Longhu only has the blood of the descendants of immortals, then as a potential combatant, the Kanglong clan will not interfere with her interpersonal relationships. But Longhu is the descendant of Emperor Yinglong, so her marriage partner is naturally an extremely valuable political bargaining chip. Not letting her get close to him does not mean that the Kanglong clan is hostile to him, but because his political weight is not enough. After all, it is still too weak. Just as Long Long was sitting on the bed thinking, he heard the door being pushed open from outside. "You don't seem to care where she went." Li walked in with a smile and asked. "No matter where she goes, I will find her again," Long Long said indifferently. Persistent personality, synchronization value +1. "What are you going to do?" Li asked with interest. "What can you do? You haven't even transformed yet." "Of course I have my own way." Long Long didn't intend to say more to her. In fact, the simplest way is to reveal a solution to the bloodliner problem of the Dragon Fox and let the Kanglong clan send the Dragon Fox to the Beiming Fanning secret realm of Jialong. In this way, Long Long's promise to her mother can be perfectly fulfilled. However, the most critical problem is that the fragment of the sky-making stone pendant will most likely not fall into Long Long's hands. It will only be collected by the ancestors of the Kanglong clan, and then Long Long will start to plan from scratch, just like he did in Kunlin, Shushan and Penglai. Only a fool would take that route. Seeing Long Long silent, Li once again raised her evaluation of him in her heart and said with a smile, "Aren't you angry with me? If I hadn't come, Long wouldn't have been valued and taken away by the Kanglong clan. Even without you, as long as the blood problem in her body is not solved, the clan will one day trace the true identity of her father." Long Long shook his head indifferently. "How many dragons of the immortal level have there been throughout history? I have already made a plan, so there is no need for Ta Shanjun to worry." "Really?" Li smiled with narrowed eyes. "I saw you in the living room, you're in a state of disarray, and I thought you needed help. It seems that I was too worried." She stood up and pretended to leave. Seeing that Long Long didn't react, she cursed inwardly, then stretched her arms, stretched, and sat down again, chatting. The situation on the mainland has not been very stable recently. Long Long was still in deep thought. When he heard this, it was like a flash of lightning passing through his mind, and he suddenly asked, "Yuan and his wife are going to divorce?" Even though Li was a shrewd man, he was caught off guard by Long Long's direct attack, and a hint of strangeness flashed in his eyes. Although it was only a hint of strangeness, it was still recorded by the Kunlun mirror and played back in front of Long Long. Long Long took a closer look and knew that he had guessed it right, so he sneered and said, "Yuan, the leader of all the monsters in the world and the patriarch of the Cunning clan, unexpectedly can't control his wife. If their relationship breaks down, it will definitely cause the alliance between the Cunning clan and the White Tiger clan to suffer a heavy blow. So the Sky Fox clan foresaw this, so they came to seek external help in advance and secretly communicated with the Kanglong clan, right?" Li looked at him calmly, as if judging how much of his words were guesses and how much were analysis and inference. After a while, Probably realizing that she could no longer hide it, she smiled slightly and said, "I will not admit what I saw next after leaving this room. Please speak frankly, Tu Shanjin." Long Long said in a deep voice. "Yuan's 2 sons and 1 daughter are not the offspring of the big-horned fat deer," Li said faintly. Long Long's pupils suddenly contracted, and his heart was already filled with turmoil. What? The demon emperor was cheated. As everyone knows, Yuan, the lord of 10,000 demons, married Elvi Yang, the daughter of the chief of the White Tiger clan. This is a purely political marriage, and the relationship between the couple is extremely bad. Queen Elvia has privately mocked Yuan as a big-horned fat deer more than once, and the entire Cunning clan is extremely disgusted with the queen. But political marriage does not require feelings. As long as Elvia can give birth to a child for Yuan, after the future child succeeds to the throne, according to filial piety, he must respect his mother and her family behind him. This is also the fundamental basis of the alliance between the White Tiger and the clan. But if the child is not the emperor's seed, let alone Yuan himself, who is on the grassland, the entire Cunning clan cannot accept it. In this way, it will inevitably lead to a full-scale conflict between Zhongzhou and Shizhou. In addition, the Chuan clan is a historical ally of the Cunning clan, and Bizhou inevitably supports Zhongzhou. The Vermilion Bird clan is currently at war with the Cunning clan, so Nanzhou will most likely form an alliance with Shizhou to fight against the enemy. This means that 4/5 of the Donghuan realm will be involved in the war. Does Yuan know about this? Long Long asked in a low voice. If he knew, would it still be so calm now? Li said indifferently, Zhongzhou has already gone to war with Shizhou, and you Dongzhou Dragon clan can't even think of escaping. So you were playing Game of Thrones, right? Long Long complained fiercely, feeling extremely powerless. What did he join the Kanglong clan for? Isn't it for a safe development environment so that he can send the Dragon Fox to Biming Fanyan later? As a result, you tell me that this Donghuan realm is about to be in chaos. It's difficult for the Dragon clan to survive. It's better to be a casual cultivator like before. What is Game of Thrones? Li asked with a frown. It's nothing. Long Long let out a long breath. Thank you Tu Shanjin for your advice, but why did you tell me about this? This matter can't be kept secret forever. Li said in an ethereal tone. By then, the Dongzhou Dragon clan, which has not been involved in the war, will certainly become the object of competition between the two camps. The clan hopes to establish a secret alliance with the Kanglong clan, and it is also seeking self-protection in times of crisis. However, I personally don't trust the Dragon clan. Having said that, she stood up gracefully and said seriously, the Dragon clan is born cold-blooded, and Qin Biaowang is not a good person. If you were deceived by them before, you should have recognized their true colors now. I'm Longhu's aunt, and I will not let her stay here. If you still want to be with Longhu in the future, just listen to my orders. Tu Shanjin wants to bribe me to be a spy. Long Long finally laughed out loud. I'm also a Dragon clan. Tu Shanjin obviously doesn't trust the Dragon clan, but why does he look at me differently? Good guy, he can actually see my professional level. This beautiful fox woman is really not simple. Chapter 413 Long Long, you must be strong. Because Qin Biaowang and I are different, I care more about whether my sister's daughter is happy. Li said coldly, as for you, don't say that you have a sense of belonging here after staying here for a few months. This kind of stupid bluffing means nothing to me. That's not what I mean. Long Long said lightly, it's just, to bribe me. What bargaining chips can Tu Shanjin offer? Bargain? Li opened his eyes wide and asked in disbelief, isn't being able to be with Longhu the biggest reward for you? I said, even without the help of the seniors, I have a way to take Longhu away. Long Long said frankly. What method? Li showed an expression of disbelief. Okay, even if you have a way to take Longhu out of Dongzhou. In the future, when the Dragon clan is hunting you, where in this Donghuan realm dares to shelter you? Long Long just smiled. The Jielong clan. Li's mind was also very fast, and he guessed the answer immediately, sneering, naive. Do you know how many difficulties and obstacles you need to overcome to get to Biming Fanyan where the Jielong clan is? Let alone, even if you can pass through Bizhou safely, it is impossible for you to cross Bihai alive. This is what her mother meant. Long Long took out his trump card. Sure enough, Li's originally mocking expression immediately froze on his face. She was silent for a long time before she said, Sister, is she okay? When I found Dragon Fox, her mother had passed away. Please accept my condolences. Long Long replied, her last wish was for me to take Dragon Fox to the Jielong clan. I actually guessed it a long time ago. Lily's face turned sad, and her voice softened. If sister hadn't passed away, how could she have handed Dragon Fox to you? It's just that going to be Iming Fanyan is not that simple. The two of you have such low levels of cultivation. Going north is almost equivalent to a life and death struggle. But if you go to Shizao with me, at least within the sphere of influence of King Kiyu, no one will dare to bully you, she said in a pleading tone, but Long Long was not moved at all. After all, only Iming Fanyan can completely solve the blood conflict problem in Dragon Fox, but this matter cannot be told to her aunt, because if you want to explain it in detail, you can't avoid the beauty and she pendant on her body, and Long Long doesn't want to take this risk. He would rather pretend that he didn't know about the blood conflict in Dragon Fox, and just said that it was Dragon Fox's mother's will that he should do so. Seeing that he was stubborn, Lee was also very angry, and finally he could only grit his teeth and say, "Then what do you want to cooperate with me?" In the sea of consciousness, Kumlan Mirror and Kingping Sword also looked at each other. A cultivator in the foundation building stage could actually control a demon king like this, which was really beyond their expectations. It can only be said that Long Long's methods, observation skills, and degree of thick-skinnedness and black heart are really 1 in a million. Seeing that the other party finally gave in, Long Long was moved and said, "First of all, you must ensure the safety of me and Longhu. You don't trust me." Li frowned slightly and said, "I can produce evidence to prove that she and I are indeed related by blood." "Not really." Long Long said, "Even husband and wife may kill each other, and the relationship between aunt and niece is not solid. What's more, you should also understand that the only thing that can truly protect yourself in this world is strength." "I thought it was something else." Li snorted coldly, "So you want to increase your strength? This is the only thing that your dragon clan cares about. Didn't I give you a Panlong Xiaojin ball? Thank you Tashanjin for the generous gift." Long Long stood up and saluted, saying, "Now this generation has no shortage of flying swords, and they also have magic weapons, but they are just missing a Taoist magic power. The Taoist magic power of the Dragon Clan, but you come to me, the Sky Fox, to ask for it?" Li looked at him strangely, and then said suddenly, "Yes. All the Taoist magic powers of the Dragon Clan have countermeasures within the Dragon Clan. I will think of a way to deal with this. You should be quiet for the time being and don't rashly anger the clan." After saying that, Li stood up gracefully, pushed open the door and left. Long Long was silent for a moment, then calmly went to bed and began to meditate with his eyes closed. The Kanglong clan thought that taking Longhu away would be enough, which was simply a joke. As long as Longhu brought the pendant to the fragment of the beauty in stone, the Kumlan mirror could scan her specific location at any time. What's the point of hiding her? After an unknown amount of time, someone knocked on the door again. Long Long opened his eyes and said loudly, "Come in." So the people outside pushed the door in. It turned out to be Qin Zhao and Qin Yi, the brother and sister, with uneasy expressions on their faces. In the Kanglong clan, these two people are also familiar with Long Long and Longhu. In addition, they are the children of the clan leader. It is estimated that they heard some rumors, so they want to come to comfort themselves. Long Long sneered in his heart, and only heard Qin Zhao hesitantly say, "Long Long, that, the clan said that they found a secret place nearby, and they plan to arrange for Longhu to practice in seclusion, so as to improve her cultivation level as soon as possible. So, they temporarily arranged for someone to take her away." "Oh," Long Long said calmly. His reaction was so calm that the two siblings immediately knew that the other party was not fooled by this lie at all. So Qin Yi sighed and said sadly, "Long Long, don't be too angry. Many elders have suggested that Longhu's identity and background are too sensitive, so it is not good for her to get along with us, and my father doesn't have much to do. Long Long also remembers the care that the clan leader has given me during this period." Long Long said neither humbly nor arrogantly. "Master Sword Master," Kingping Sword suddenly said, "your reaction is too calm. They just think you are going to explode in silence, so they are more afraid of you getting angry." Long Long thought so, and then he showed a slightly weak expression, sighing and said, "It's my low status that I can't convince the elders to let me stay with Longhu." Qin Zhao was relieved when he saw this. He was afraid that Long Long would get stuck in a dead end, pretending to be indifferent, and then wake up from a sleep and go to assassinate the chieftain. He still cherished this partner very much. "What I said just now is not a lie to you," he said seriously. "The tribe does plan to take Longhu to practice, but it's not a retreat, it's just that we don't want her to contact the outside world, so as not to delay that progress of practice." "Yes." Qin Yi said in a low voice, but that secret realm, ahem, my brother and I know a secret passage that can sneak in. If you miss Longhu very much, we will take you to see her. Qin Zhao said sincerely. Upon hearing this, Long Long was stunned for a long time, thinking to himself, could it be that this brother and sister really regard him as a friend? Chapter 414. Learn to be grateful. In the following period of time, Long Long behaved very normally. He went to the clan school as usual, not only learning various theoretical knowledge, but also practicing the unique innate magical powers of the Dragon Clan. In private, he regularly asked Qin Zhao and Qin Yi about the situation of Longyu. Longyu has been canonized as the Dragon Princess by the Kanglong clan. Of course, this title is limited to the clan and has not been widely circulated outside the Dragon Clan, otherwise, it would be difficult to explain why the Dragon Princess is a fox. Because the Dragon bloodline is sealed, Longyu learns the various bloodline magical powers of the Dragon Clan very slowly, and the power is really hard to describe, but the Fox clan is extremely talented. At present, she is learning illusion from an elder from the Tianhu clan. In addition, she often uses the newly learned illusion to confuse the guards and try to sneak out of the secret realm quietly, but she is caught on the spot by the guards every time. Long Long naturally knows why she is like this. After careful consideration, he finally decided to let the Qin brothers and sisters take him to find Longyu. Some things still need to be explained to the little fox. Otherwise, she would keep trying to escape from prison, which would be equivalent to frequently exposing her cards to the clan. It would be troublesome when she really needed to run away. According to the Qin brothers and sisters, the place where the Dragon Fox practiced in seclusion was said to be in a palace deep in the East China Sea. It was not a secret place in the strict sense, but there were a lot of formations set up around it to isolate the inside and the outside, so it was similar to a secret place and could be considered heavily guarded. The three of them revealed their water snake bodies, fell into the sea, and swam quickly towards the bottom of the sea. Along the way, they also encountered many sea monsters. However, as soon as they approached, Qin Zhao or Qin Yi displayed the primary dragon power, which scared the other party away. Long Long could see clearly from the side and guessed that these aquatic monsters in the East China Sea had engraved the fear of the Dragon Clan into their bones. As for those unruly and even savage beasts that dared to attack the Dragon Clan, they had been wiped out by the Kanglong clan many times. After passing through the wide and flat seabed and then the forest covered with aquatic plants, about 3 or 4 hours later, they arrived at a huge rift valley. It's right below, and we have to dive very deep, Qin Yi said with a snake tongue. Both she and her brother's original bodies are white-scaled water vipers. Okay. Long Long also replied. His original body is a brown-scaled water viper. The 3 water vipers swam down carefully along the edge of the rift valley, probably because there were many turbulent undercurrents in the center of the rift valley, sometimes upwards and sometimes downwards, which could easily sweep them away. As the depth increased, the water pressure gradually began to rise. If it were a foundation-building realm cultivator, he would not be able to withstand the pressure in such a place and could only swim upstream quickly. But as a dragon-type monster, the water viper's physical strength is far superior to that of ordinary monsters, so it can hold on. Gradually, the ambient light that was originally a little dim around finally disappeared completely at this time. Although the water snake can see at night, it is helpless in such a place without any light, so Qin Zhao spits out a beat, which is a clam beat that can glow naturally, and controls it to sing continuously. After an unknown amount of time, a little starlight suddenly appeared below. Pay attention, those light sources are the range of the formation. Qin Zhao reminded, once you fall into it, you can't get out. Follow me. He turned around and headed in the direction away from the starlight, while Qin Yi and Long Long twisted their bodies and followed him closely. Unknowingly, those light sources were left behind, farther and farther, until they became barely detectable bright spots. It should be here, Qin Yi said. About the same. Qin Zhao turned around and estimated the distance from the light source and said. Long Long carefully observed the surroundings and saw that there was only dark and deep sea water everywhere, without any rock walls or rock layers at all. Could it be a formation? As he was thinking this, he saw Qin Yi also opened his mouth and spit out a small formation flag. As soon as the formation flag came out, countless bright lines suddenly appeared in the surrounding sea water. These lines twisted quickly, and soon turned into various exquisite rooms and structures, and were still rotating rapidly, about to turn into a 3-dimensional complex formation. Qin Yi grinned triumphantly and turned his head to see the surprised look on Long Long's face. As a result, he only saw Long Long's eyes widened, and his golden vertical pupils were almost stretched into a straight line, how to say it. Although it was expected, his reaction was also slightly exaggerated. This is an ancient formation. Qin Zhao explained to him, my sister and I accidentally found some clues when we were reading the classics of the clan, and finally found it by chance. So that's it. Long Long said in a complicated tone, but his heart was in turmoil. Because the rules and structure of this formation, he was really familiar with it. At the beginning, Luo Yan and Shiluli accidentally fell into the water in the secret realm of the Sanu treasure ship, and finally trapped in the Gaiqiu Palace. The rune structure of the formation in the courtyard of the palace and the formation here are clearly from the same source. Long Long looked at these rune structures carefully and confirmed that the formation here was a subformation of the last Gaiqiu Palace formation. The Gaiqiu formation was a very mysterious high-dimensional formation. It not only blocked the space of the Gaiqiu Palace, but also compressed time, making the flow of time inside slower than the outside world. As for the formation here, it was just a formation that compressed space. Its function should be, Long Long was calculating in his mind, and suddenly a black hole opened in the center of the formation, swallowing the surrounding seawater, Qin Zhao, Qin Yi and himself into it with a huge suction force. Oh, I see, the function is to open a wormhole. The seawater rushed out violently, and then 3 water snakes fell on the floor tiles, rolled on the ground, and quickly turned into human form again. Long Long turned his head and looked around, and found that the wormhole behind him had closed. At this time, everyone was in a stone room. In the center of the stone room was a built bathing pool, and the seawater was seeping away quickly along the small hole in the corner of the pool wall. The small holes were distributed in the shape of plum blossoms, which reminded Long Long of the sauna salt room designed by the fisherman in the misty forest of Shouwang Mountain when Ling Yunpa was broken. The seawater also flowed across the stone room through such small holes, and even the plum blossom-shaped distribution pattern was exactly the same. I can only say, I have seen a lot of your tricks. This is one of the baths in the Dragon Palace. Qin Yi introduced, we secretly told Long Yu to set this as our own exclusive bath, so that other guards will not come in rashly. And the formation is set outside, but it opens inside when teleporting, so even if there are tribesmen checking here, as long as the formation outside is closed, it is impossible to find any results. Qin Zhao also said with a smile. Qin Zhao, Qin Yi, thanks to you this time, Long Long was excited and said with tears in his eyes, it is really difficult to express my gratitude in thousands of words. You're welcome, aren't we friends? Qin Yi said with a smile. Indeed, Long Long sighed in his heart. As a spy for many parties, he has been walking on the edge of calculation and malice for many years, and has long become indifferent. But seeing that these two siblings have no scheming and are wholeheartedly thinking about themselves and Long Hu, I'm also grateful. If I run away with Long Hu one day, I will not implicate you too. I, Long Long, am persistent in my character and I will do what I say. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelers. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 415. Fox girls have always been passionate. The 3 of them walked through the palace corridor. Long Long observed the surroundings again and confirmed that the interior decoration style of this palace was not completely similar to that of the original Gaiqiu Palace and the Ghost Dragon Palace deep in the Wukikeyuan cave, but it could be said that they were 80% similar. Sure enough, this should also be a legacy of the ancient Dragon clan. According to Qin Zhao, there were not many guards inside the palace. After all, the Dragon Fox was said to be recluse cultivation rather than house arrest, and there was already a formation protection outside. If guards were arranged inside, it would give the Dragon Fox a very bad feeling. Facts have proved that more guards are unnecessary. The 2 transformed dragon monks who were responsible for guarding the palace gate are often deceived by the Dragon Fox using illusions and tricks. Instead, it is the large formation outside the palace that really plays a blocking role. In addition to the Dragon Fox, there are many other dragon monks who are practicing inside the palace, but they are basically in seclusion and will not come out for a stroll. Long Long nodded and remembered what the Qin siblings said, but he refused to relax in his heart. He just asked Arjun to help scan the surroundings and be ready to hide or run away at any time. In this way, they finally arrived at the dormitory where Long Yu was. Qin Yi pushed the door open first, and Qin Zhao and Long Long followed in. Long Long had even thought about it. If the little fox jumped over and got into his arms, he would hug her. If she jumped over and bit him, for example, she blamed him for taking so long to see her, he would hold her head and rub her ears. If she jumped over and kissed him fiercely, he would kick the troublesome Keen's siblings out of the room first. The three of them looked carefully at the room and found that there was no trace of the little fox at all. Keen was still a little puzzled, but Keen Zhao quickly reacted and shouted, "No, she must have tried to run away again." Thinking of this, Keen was also scared and sweated, and said, "Then the guards will catch her and send her back here. Let's go," Keen Zhao said hurriedly. So the three of them hurriedly returned to the bathing pool. Keen threw out the formation flag and reopened the temporarily closed wormhole. Following the gushing seawater, they went upstream and passed through the wormhole, and soon returned to the bottom of the abyss. Keen urged the formation flag again to close the operating formation, so the space connection on both sides was completely disconnected. After doing all this, Keen Zhao apologized and said, Long, it's such a coincidence that she is not in the room. How about we wait here? Maybe in half an hour, she will be sent back by the guards." "Forget it." Long smiled freely and said, "Since she ran out and was discovered, the level of vigilance there will be increased in the short term. There is no need for you to accompany me on the adventure. Next time. Let's come again when there is a suitable opportunity next time." Keen pursed his lips, gritted his teeth for a moment, and stuck the formation flag in his hand to Long, saying, "We used to go to the palace often to explore and see if there were any interesting places. Later, we confirmed that it was all quiet rooms for cultivation, so we didn't go there much anymore. Long, I'll give you this formation key. In this way, whenever you want to see Dragon Fox, you can go directly through this secret passage." "Thank you, Keen," Long said gratefully. The three of them turned into water snakes again and floated upwards. After a few more hours, they finally returned to the surface of the sea, and then swam all the way back to the clan land. After saying goodbye to the Keen brothers and sisters, Long returned to his room, with no trace of disappointment or regret for not seeing the little fox on his face. "A Jin, teleport me to the bathing pool." He locked the door, set up the formation, and then said with a smile, "Oh." Kunlin Jin agreed. As early as when retreating back to the bathing pool, Long asked Jin to record the spatial coordinates here, so that he could teleport here conveniently later. "Isn't Jin's time and space shuttle more convenient than any space formation?" The reason why the coordinates were not set in Longhu's room was that he was afraid that she would fail to escape and be taken back to the room by the guards. It would be bad if she performed a trick in front of the guards. As the world spun, Long had fallen into the bathing pool again. It was just that the last time he entered here, there was a shallow layer of seawater under his feet that was let in by the wormhole. This time when he fell into the water, it was warm, and there were a lot of bubbles on the water surface. Long stuck his head out of the water and saw a girl like Dragon Fox sitting opposite the bathing pool, kicking the hot water with her legs and looking at him in confusion. In just a moment, her face instantly turned red. Long quickly dived into the water and quickly transformed into a water viper. Before he could swim away, he was picked up by a sharp mouth. The Dragon Fox, which had transformed into a little fox, grabbed Long's vital points from underwater, lifted him out of the water, pressed his claws against the wall of the bathing pool, and roared in a low voice, "Change back to me." Long twisted a few times, and could only helplessly transform into a boy, saying, "Dragon Fox." Before he finished speaking, the little fox also transformed into a girl again and hugged him tightly. Long. She tried to suppress her tears and choked up, "I thought I would never see you again." Long subconsciously felt soft-hearted and wanted to comfort her, but found that she hugged him too tightly and he could hardly breathe. However, it was precisely because she hugged him so tightly that the little fox in human form did not show any exposure from the front, only revealing a large, smooth and delicate back. Long's two hands waved up and down awkwardly, not knowing where to put them, and finally rested on her waist. The two stayed in the bathtub like this, quietly leaning on each other. After a while, Long rested her chin on his shoulder and whispered in his ear, "How did you get in?" "Qin Zhao, Qin Yi and others found this secret passage for me." Long replied. "You lied." Long bit his shoulder. "I also know about this secret passage. When it is opened, seawater will be poured into it. Otherwise, why do you think I want to occupy this bathroom?" Thinking of her current state, she felt an indescribable shyness, but she was even more afraid that once she left to get clothes, she would find that Long had disappeared when she came back. The last time he coaxed her to sleep in the room, he disappeared like this. After a moment of silence, Long whispered aggrievedly, "I know what they're thinking. They want to use my identity to play those political marriage tricks. Long, I don't want to marry anyone casually. Don't worry. Long touched her smooth back. I won't let you marry anyone casually. He thought about it for a moment and decided not to talk about the cooperation he and Uli were discussing, regardless of whether Uli had leaked it in front of Longu. What I mean is... Long hugged him tightly again, biting her lower lip, as if she had used up all her strength, and finally tried to say, I don't want to marry those casual people. Her. Long was suddenly confused. Marrying someone casually and marrying someone casually are two completely different things, okay? Before he could figure out the difference, the little fox suddenly raised her neck, her pretty face full of beautiful blush. Then, she held Long's cheeks with both hands, closed her eyes and kissed him. At this moment, all the plans, thoughts and plots faded from Long's mind like a tide. There was only one thought left in his mind. This fox girl's temperament is really bold in love and hate. Chapter 416 The Patriarch is not kind. Long originally planned to come here once a month to exchange various information with Dragon Fox and confirm that she was fine. But after being disturbed by Dragon Fox's tongue, he somehow came here every 10 days. Illusion. It must be an illusion. The magical power of the Sky Fox clan is so terrifying. In addition to meeting with Dragon Fox in private, he also cultivates the blood of the Dragon clan and inquires about the current situation in the Eastern Empire realm. Zhong Zhao and Nan Zhao finally stopped fighting, but it is hard to say who won and who lost. Zhong Zhao claimed to have killed so many feather tribes, and Nan Zhao doubled this number and claimed to have killed so many hair tribes, and then Zhong Zhao changed its words again, so much so that except for the well-informed demon clan leaders, most ordinary demons could not tell which side was the winner. However, Long was in the school of the Kanglong clan after all. Through various information channels, he roughly knew that the Feather tribe had a slight advantage, but was worried that the Kum tribe of Beizhou would join the war to help, so he took the initiative to propose a truce. In fact, the cause of this war was very funny. Before Kiwuan took over as the patriarch of the Cunning clan, there had been diplomatic friction and unpleasantness with the Shithunao clan. Of course, the fat man had not yet taken power in the Cunning clan. After he became the heir to the patriarch, the Shithunao clan noticed something was wrong and began to try to ease the hostility of the Yu clan as a whole towards him. But Kiwuan took over too quickly. He became the patriarch within a few years and inherited the titles of King of Kings and Lord of all Monsters. He also made no secret of his contempt for Nan Zhao. The situation began to develop in an intensified direction, and even the Shithunao clan could not suppress it. Now that the war has finally come to an end, Kiwuan has retracted his previous insulting remarks about Nan Zhao. Because the Yu clan suffered too many casualties and had no war benefits, most of the monsters in the clan tended to just teach them a lesson, so they all chose to withdraw. The East Empire realm has once again restored peace, a fragile and short-lived peace like a castle in the water. In the current situation, the Kalina Zhong Zhao and the Chuan of Beizhou are still the closest allies, and the relationship with the Kanglong of Dongzhou is also pretty good. The relationship between the White Tiger of Shizhou and the Kalina Zhong Zhao was originally bad. Although it is improved due to the marriage, it still cannot reverse the overall discrimination of the Mao tribe against the Horn tribe, who can expect carnivores to have a good face towards herbivores. As for the Nan Zhao Shithunao, that is already an open hostility, no need to say more. Back to the point, in the political course exam within the tribe this month, Long once again got full marks, and the tutor even read out his policy essay in public, which made everyone stunned. The IQ of the children of the Dragon tribe who have not yet transformed is not as good as that of adult humans. It is only natural that Long can stand out in terms of intelligence. After leaving the tribe's school, Long saw Qin Biaoan waiting for him outside. Following the clan leader to the upper level of Jianmu, Long looked at the Daguan wilderness in the distance, and heard Qin Biaoan suddenly say, "In fact, in my opinion, your value and potential are far higher than Longu. Even if I confirm who her father is, I still insist on this point. Thank you for your kindness, clan leader." Long was a little surprised and said hurriedly, "Qin Zhao, Qin Yi and others have explained to you, right?" Qin Biaoan asked slowly, "Why the clan wants to take Longu away?" "Yes." Long replied calmly, "Her identity is too sensitive, so it's not good for her to have too much contact with the clan members. I thought you would be resentful of the clan because of this." Qin Biaoan looked outside. After a pause, he continued, "Whether you are pretending or really don't care, at least it shows that you are not the kind of person who is irritable and impulsive. Longu's situation is more complicated. I think you should have guessed that someone in the clan wants to use her as a bargaining chip for marriage, but in fact that is not appropriate, because there are not many corresponding options. Long Long nodded silently, indicating that he was listening. To be precise, there are only two possibilities. Qin Boan raised two fingers. First, marry with the royal family, that is, the Cunning clan. Qian has two sons. The eldest son Qiqion is tyrannical and cruel, and the second son Qiqiafa is cowardly. Neither is a good match for Longhu. More importantly, Longhu's identity also represents the face of our dragon clan. Qian is in his prime and his position is solid. There is no possibility of handing over power for at least 1,000 years. If Longhu marries a Kulin son who has no possibility of becoming an emperor, it will only make the outside world mistakenly think that our dragon clan is surrendering to Kulin. Long Long pondered and said nothing. The second is to marry within our clan. Qin Boan looked down at Long Long's face, as if to confirm his inner emotions. However, Long Long's face was nothing unusual except for the contemplative look. With your intelligence, you should be able to guess that if it is an intra-clan marriage, I will not allow her to marry another branch. It would be tantamount to allowing the branch family to usurp power and cause trouble within the family. Qin Boan said coldly, the only choice is my son Qin Zhao. But Zhao has clearly stated that he does not like Longhu. May I ask the clan leader? Long Long said in a low voice, is there still a willing or not in this political marriage? Qin Boan was silent for a moment and said, the ancestor has always loved Zhao and does not agree with this. Hectares, it turned out that the ancestor disagreed. Long Long sneered in his heart. What do you think of my daughter Yi? Qin Boan suddenly asked. Long Long. Qin Yi is of course a good girl, but what do you mean by asking this question, clan leader? As a result, Qin Boan's next sentence immediately shocked Long Long. If you are willing to marry into my family and marry Yi in the future, I will take the lead in the tribe and let Longhu marry you, so what's wrong with that? Patriarch, Long Long was dumbfounded and could hardly speak. It is my personal wish for you to marry Yi. Qin Boan remained calm, marrying Longhu is a helpless choice, after all, that person's bloodline must not be leaked. This time Long Long understood. Longhu is not suitable for marrying with the Kulin clan, so she can only marry within the clan. As the clan leader, Qin Boan will never allow her to marry anyone other than her own children, otherwise it would be equivalent to simply improving the other party's legal status, and there is a risk of usurping the family and becoming the host. However, for some unknown reason, the Kanglong ancestor was unwilling to let Longhu marry Qin Zhao. The ancestor's intention could not be violated, so Qin Boan could only settle for the second best and let her marry his son-in-law. By the way, doesn't the demon clan have a system of wife and concubines? If so, who will be the wife and who will be the concubine? The next successor of the Kanglong clan leader will be chosen from the descendants of Yu and Yi. Qin Boan continued, after 5 or 6 generations, let the descendants of both sides merge, and that's it. This was naturally within Long Long's expectations. After all, the descendants of Longhu and I have human blood, celestial fox blood, and dragon blood, but not Kanglong blood. If I become the clan leader of the Kanglong clan, it would be like a Chinese becoming the president of the United States. It is theoretically possible, but it is impossible in practice. But is there any conspiracy behind this clan leader suddenly giving me such a big buy? Long Long knows that there is no free lunch in the world, not to mention that this seemingly cool blessing of having 2 wives may have a price behind it. Just when he was extremely vigilant and thinking hard, he heard Kun Lin Jing say, he is greedy for your blood. Long Long suddenly became enlightened. So that's how it is. In this demon world where blood is respected, I, who have Yin Long blood, am a good breeding object. Good fellow, let me combine with Qin Yi first, and then their offspring will merge with my offspring and Longhu's. This is to merge the high-level bloodliness of Longhu and me into the bloodline of your Kanglong clan. Li is right. Qin Boan, you, the clan leader with thick eyebrows and big eyes, are really not a good person. Chapter 417. You have a huge misunderstanding. Under Jian Mu, in the valley. Long Long and Qin Zhao stood in the air, without any flying swords or magic weapons under their feet. This is one of the dragon bloodliner magical powers, riding the mist and soaring into the clouds. Although the flying speed is not as fast as that of a flying sword, the true essence consumption is almost zero, and it can even reach a height that a flying sword cannot reach. The two opened their eyes at the same time, and the golden vertical pupils shrank suddenly, and boundless power surged in all directions. This is the second bloodline or magical power of the Dragon Clan, 10 Directions Dragon Power, which is said to be able to intimidate all living creatures in the world, but in actual measurement, it can only intimidate creatures with lower ranks than itself. For high-level monsters like Thunau and Kchuan, it has no effect, and at most makes people stunned for a while. Suddenly, the two passed by each other almost at the same time, and then quickly collided. Punches, elbows, knee strikes, kicks, countless fierce-killing moves attacked each other, and every part of the Dragon Clan could launch attacks in ways that human cultivators could hardly imagine. Long Long punched Qin Zhao, but when he was blocked by his arm, he suddenly changed his fist into a claw and grabbed his opponent's forearm. Many scales burst out from the back of his hand, and the huge force extended along his arm and exploded, lifting Qin Zhao up, making him lose his balance, and then smashing down like lightning. Dust erupted several feet high on the ground, and then Qin Zhao, who was covered in dust, climbed out of the deep pit on the ground, smiled bitterly and said, "I lost, I still can't beat you." "Hey, where did you learn that move just now?" "It wasn't taught in the clan school. I created it myself," Long Long said shamelessly. "Why do I feel like it has the feeling of Mao clan martial arts?" Qin Yi, who was watching the fight next to him, thought to himself, and it has a bit of retro flavor. In fact, Long Long's change of fist into claw just now came from the clan's Lonkia baying song, and the subsequent flip and smashing to the ground came from the smoke-swallowing indulge of the Xuani clan. In the past, Luoyan and Shiluli accidentally entered an island cave in the Three-Island Treasure Ship Secret Realm, and saw the skills of the clan and the Monster Clan in it. Unexpectedly, it would come in handy now. The duel came to an end for the time being, and the two sat on the ground to rest. Qin Yi helped his brother and Long Long potty and brushed off the dirt and dust on them. Long Long estimated that this person didn't know about the engagement, otherwise there would be no abnormal reaction. After a short rest, the two prepared to get up and continue to practice. Unlike the human race who meditated and breathed in the cave, the monster race relied on stimulating blood to improve their cultivation level. There are 2 ways to stimulate blood. In addition to swallowing the essence of the sun and the moon at noon and midnight, it can also be purified by fighting, performing blood supernatural powers, etc. As for people like Zhu Yinlian, who have phoenix blood and happened to take the supporting medicine 9 turns red phoenix pill, it is a rare situation. After the rest, Long Long was about to get up and practice again, when he suddenly heard Yuli's deep female voice. "Meet me at the East Coast." Long Long turned his eyes calmly, and saw that Qin Zhao and Qin Yi did not respond, as if they did not hear the voice, so he knew it should be some kind of magic of transmitting sound into secrets. "I'm a little tired," he said with a smile. "Do you want to practice more?" "It's okay to practice another day," Qin Zhao said with a smile. "Next time for sure," Long Long immediately said skillfully. After saying goodbye to Qin Zhao and Qin Yi, he first pretended to go back to the bedroom and rested for about a quarter of an hour, then quietly left Jianmu and went to the east coast of the island. In the cave by the sea, Long Long saw Yuli, the elder of the Sky Fox, and a strange woman beside her. The woman looked to be in her 30s, with a bun, a regular appearance, and a cinnamon hole between her eyebrows, which made her look more majestic. "Is this the Long Long?" The woman looked at Long Long carefully, then quickly stretched her eyebrows and said with satisfaction, "Not bad, he looks good." Long Long had a blank expression on his face, and he was complaining in his heart. "What do you think?" "I'm afraid you don't judge people by appearance. My appearance is only not bad. There is something wrong with my aesthetic sense. This is Senior Show." Li waved his hand and introduced, "Whether you have any questions about Beiming Fanyan or want to learn any Dragon Clan magic, just find her." "Oh, I met Senior Shi," Long Long said subconsciously, and suddenly reacted. "Her. Let me ask her for information about Beiming Fanyan and learn Dragon Clan magic. Could this be a senior of the Jialong clan?" Seeing his face change slightly, Li turned around and smiled. "You see, I said I couldn't hide it from him. It's because you reminded him too obviously." Xiao said with her arms folded, "If he is really the heir of that majesty, he must not be so stupid." "Then why don't you test it?" Li said. So Xiao strode forward, grabbed Long Long's wrist, flipped her left hand, took out a silver needle, and gently pierced his wrist half an inch. No blood flowed out, but the silver needle itself quickly turned bright gold. "It is indeed the heir of your majesty," Xiao said excitedly at first, but soon his expression turned confused. "Huh? No. What's going on?" "Long Long. He was puzzled at first, but soon guessed that it must be that the other party had detected that his bloodliner was from the same source as the Yinglong bloodliner in the demon locking tower. Xiao slightly turned the golden needle and said curiously, "From the test results, you only have one bloodliner in your body, and that is Yinglong. Isn't this something we have known for a long time?" Li shrugged curiously. One of his parents is Yinglong, and his bloodliner devoured the bloodliner of the other. If both parents are from different demon tribes, then the bloodliner of a higher rank will often devour the bloodliner of a lower rank, except for special cases like the dragon fox. Xiao frowned and explained, "But this kind of devouring is not complete, and it will eventually leave some traces deep in the bloodliner." "I haven't heard of such traces," Li said. "That's because your knowledge of blood is too poor," Xiao said bluntly. "As for the research on the blood of the demon race, no one in the entire Donghuang realm is more profound than our clan. Even the Kanglong clan only learned a little bit from us at the beginning. But Long, there is no trace of any other blood in his body, so there is only one explanation. Both of his parents are Yinglong." "So?" Li said calmly, "When did two Yinglongs appear in this Donghuang realm?" "I don't know," Xiao said very frankly, "and if my judgment is correct, the blood of these two Yinglongs is extremely close, and they are very likely siblings from the same mother, or siblings." Li. Now, her expression when she looked at Long also became a little wrong. Cough, cough, cough. Long thought that this misunderstanding was a big one. My blood only came from the Yinglong in the demon locking tower. Of course, there would be no blood from another party. How could I be misunderstood as the product of inbreeding? I'm afraid this thing won't even pass the review if it's written in a book. However, he knew nothing about the blood knowledge of the demon race, so he could only cough a few times and reluctantly said, "I don't know about this. After all, I haven't seen my parents since I became conscious." Billy saw his embarrassment and quickly tried to smooth things over. "No matter whether your judgment is accurate or not, he can't be the offspring of that person anyway. That person doesn't have any sisters." "Yeah." Xiao also nodded. "In this case, he is worthy of your highness." Chapter 418 Touching the top with hand anyway. Xiao said solemnly, "Since you have the blood of our Jielong clan, then my clan's magic can be passed on to you. But you must swear to me that you will take on the mission of reviving the Jielong clan." Long, isn't it just a vow?" I have a persistent personality, so I can't swear randomly. But if I swear, I can use this to brush the synchronization value, which seems to be fine. Think about it carefully. What I want to do will not be hostile to the Jielong clan. Or to be more precise, I just need to train the little fox carefully, then take it to Beiming Fanyan, take the fragments of the booty and stone and leave a powerful dragon fox to the Jielong clan. This is also indirectly working to revive the Jielong clan. In other words, doing the same thing, you can now complete two missions at the same time and brush two waves of synchronization values at once. Thinking of this, Long swore without hesitation. "I, Long, swear hereby that I will work hard to revive the Jielong clan. Let the Jielong clan be great again." "Very good." Xiao was very satisfied with the statement of "great again," nodded in approval and said, "In addition, I have some historical origins to tell you. Because His Majesty Yinglong disappeared in the human world back then, our clan gradually weakened in the Eastern Empire realm. The clan has already noticed something is wrong. In order to ensure the continuation of the heirs, in addition to the main family that stayed in Thongzhou, many branch families were also secretly left in other states. Later, the main family in Thongzhou was no match for the Cunning clan, so they were forced to leave Thongzhou and head north to merge with the branch family in Beiming Fanyan, which is the Jielong clan you know. And my branch family has lived secretly in Shizhou for generations, and has been on good terms with the Kinkyu Sky Fox for generations. You should know about this." "I see." Long thought seriously for a moment, and suddenly asked, "Senior, I have something to ask you in detail. The dragon fox has 3 bloodliners, among which the dragon bloodliner is sealed. If it is unsealed, the 3 bloodliners will have a violent conflict. Excuse me, does the senior have a solution?" Xiao pondered for a while and said, "Ordinary demons do not have bloodliner conflicts, so there is relatively little research on this kind of problem. If there is a solution, I'm afraid that only the main family inside Beiming Fanyan has it." Billy knew what he was thinking as soon as he heard it, and immediately said anxiously, "But, since the dragon bloodliner is sealed, we only need to figure out the sealing principle to ensure that her body will not have bloodliner conflicts, right? As for going to Beiming Fanyan to cure the bloodliner conflict problem, the risk is still too great now." It is better to take the Dragon Fox to my kinkier clan to settle down first, and wait for the situation in the East Empire realm to change, Long Long sighed in his heart. Sure enough, this Dragon Fox aunt was unwilling to let her take the risk of going to becoming Fanion, but wanted to take her to Shizuo and continue to live with the seal of the Gutian stone fragment. However, for Long Long, this was definitely unacceptable. First, he promised Dragon Fox's mother that he would take Dragon Fox to becoming Fanion. A man's promise should not be violated. Secondly, if she stayed in Shizuo, the Kinkyo Fox clan would definitely study how the dragon bloodline in her body was sealed in order to ensure her physical safety. Considering that Dragon Fox's mother had found clues from the clan when she was searching for the Gutian stone, maybe the Tianhu clan would soon find that it was a fragment of the Gutian stone. In this case, how can I get the fragment of the Gutian stone? I only heard Li ask again. Long Long, do you know anything about the seal on Dragon Fox? Long Long thought that it was true, but he said blankly, I don't know much either. This is a seal set by her mother. At this point, he deliberately hesitated and said, she once said that she must take Dragon Fox to becoming Fanion. Didn't she say that she could ask Kinkyo for help? Li asked doubtfully. No. Long Long shook his head. So Li stopped talking. Although no one mentioned it, they all understood. Dragon Fox's mother was afraid that Dragon Fox would not be at ease to return to Kinkyo. After all, she left without saying goodbye and took away the clues to the clan's secret treasure. If the secret treasure is the tool to seal the Dragon Fox's bloodline, it is difficult to guarantee that the clan will not covet it again. Even more extreme, if the price of taking the secret treasure is that the blood conflict sealed in Dragon Fox will immediately break out, what should we do? As the oldest elder in the clan, Li's status in the Kinkyo Sky Fox clan is now second only to the great-grandmother of the immortal level. But if the ancestor insists on taking the secret treasure at the risk of endangering Dragon Fox, it will be difficult for Li to compete with her in the clan's public opinion, although with her understanding of that great-grandmother's character, Li is confident that she can convince the other party, but Long Long and Shiro will definitely not put all their hopes on her eloquence. Bringing Dragon Fox back to Kinkyo was indeed something that cannot be rushed, and it has to be done slowly. Let's not talk about that. Shio waved her hand and said, Long Long, there are many of our people in the Kanglong clan. You don't need to worry about Her Highness Longhu. We will keep an eye on her and will not allow Kanglong to harm her. Before that, you should accumulate strength first. After saying that, she reached into her sleeve. I have already given him your Panlong Xiaojin ball. Li said. Shio hummed, then took out a scroll, handed it to Long Long and said, since you already have a magic weapon, I will give you the secret scroll of the Jialong clan's magical powers. The bloodline magical powers of each demon clan are divided into outer scrolls, main scrolls and secret scrolls according to the value of the spells recorded therein. The outer scrolls can be learned by all disciples. The main scrolls can only be learned by valued potential disciples. As for the secret scrolls, they are often the foundation of this lineage. Even other branches of the same clan will not easily grant them. Do you understand? Disciple understands. Long Long could tell that the other party meant I treat you as one of my own, and he bowed his head quickly. Master, please accept the worship of your disciple Long Long. Ahem. Shio waved her hand awkwardly. We in the demon clan do not follow the red tape of the human race when we take a disciple. Long Long's heart almost stopped. Oops, he was exposed. But he quickly realized that I, Long Long, have no father or mother, and learned the etiquette of the human race from my Dragon Fox mother, who in turn learned it from my Dragon Fox grandmother. Considering that my Dragon Fox grandfather is a human, this is also a very normal thing, right? Shio didn't seem to think too much, just reached out and patted his head, saying, according to the etiquette of our Jialong clan, if an elder wants to accept a younger generation, he only needs to touch the top of his head with his hand. After bidding farewell to Li and Shio, Long Long found an uninhabited place and teleported to the underwater palace. Leaving the bath, Long Long let the Kunlun mirror scan all the way just in case. When he came to the door of the room, he just pushed the door in and was pounced by the Dragon Fox. Long Long. The little fox complained with tears in her eyes. Today, the elder of the Keen clan scolded me again, saying that I was stupid and slow, and couldn't learn the bloodline magic of the Dragon clan. It's obviously because he didn't teach well. I learned the bloodline magic of the Sky Fox very quickly. That's right, it must be because he didn't teach well, and he turned around and falsely accused my Dragon Fox. Long Long reached out and patted her head. The Dragon Fox was a little confused, but soon under his touch, she squinted her eyes comfortably. Chapter 419 Returning to Shipping Mountain and Training Two Disciples. Long Long has a complicated attitude towards Long Hu. At first, he probably just used her as a pet to brush up the synchronization value, but after realizing that the fox girl dared to love and hate, Long Long was unwilling and could not continue to take her lightly. Therefore, he first mentioned Qin Bio Wang's invitation to marry into the family in a tactful way in front of Long Hu, giving her a shot of prevention, so as not to get angry and lose her composure when she learned about it from the Qin brothers and sisters later. Of course, he only talked about marrying into the Qin family and marrying Qin Yi, and did not mention sharing a husband or joining offspring for the time being. As a result, Long Hu got furious on the spot, grabbed Long Long's arm, and yelled with gritted teeth. I knew that the clan leader was not a good guy. Long Long immediately agreed, saying righteously, "That's right. I, Long Long, stand between heaven and earth. How can I marry into a family easily?" "What do you mean by how can I marry into a family easily?" Long Hu immediately bit his ear and said fiercely, "So if the price is high enough, you will agree to marry into a family, right?" Long Long was worried that she would tear off half of his ear, so he could only deal with it skillfully. "That's not what I meant. What I meant was that of course I wouldn't belittle myself like this. That old man Qin underestimated me too much, how hateful." His explanation was too late. Although it was a reluctant remedy, Long Hu was obviously still worried and immediately took advantage of the situation. "You should keep your distance from Qin Yi in the future." Under normal circumstances, Long Long would definitely tease the fox, such as "Why do you have to keep your distance? Are you jealous?" "Oh, so cute," but now that half of his ear was bitten by her, he could only respond repeatedly and said, "I only regard Qin Yi as a friend, and there is no love between men and women." If Long knew his personality, he would force him to swear, but unfortunately the little fox was short-sighted at this time. Seeing that his feelings were sincere and not fake, she let go of his ear and snorted coldly. "HMPH, if you really marry into my family, I will." She wanted to say "I will ignore you," but inexplicably felt that there was no deterrent power. Suddenly, she had an idea and changed her words. "If you dare to betray me, no matter where you run to, I will chase you back." Long Yu said it very seriously, but after all, she looked too young and beautiful, so Long Long didn't take it to heart. He just touched her ears trembled a few more times, and her originally serious expression could not be helped. After coaxing the little fox to be happy again, Long Long said goodbye to her reluctantly. "Fox is good, but I still have business to do. The next choice is to teleport to Qiu, Ling, and Luo to participate in the Baiyuzheng competition, or to teleport to Adonliu to see what the demon cult is doing. Thinking carefully, I should go to Adonliu first. After all, the one who knows you best is your enemy. If the demon cult really prepared an unexpected gift for the Baiyuzheng competition of the Orthodox Church, I'm afraid that I will be defeated if I don't investigate it clearly under the identity of Wei Dongliu and go directly to Baiyuzheng." So Long Long told Jing, "Go to Shipping Mountain." Point 4. Shipping Mountain, Tongshuan Men. Character Identity. Wei Dongliu. Mirror Flower Water Moon template is covered, and it is traveling through time and space. When he came to the belly of Shipping Mountain, Wei Dongliu was surprised to find that there was no one else in the sect's residence today except his two disciples and Fish and Yaksha. TSK, those people didn't come, but it was a big deserted. Wei Dongliu called the two disciples and symbolically asked about their cultivation. Although with their mediocre qualifications, it is highly likely that they will not make any progress. Reply to the master. Guo Jin said honestly, "The qi of my disciple and junior sister has almost filled up 1/3. Wei Dongliu's expression moved slightly, and he held the wrists of the two and carefully detected them with his spiritual sense. Sure enough, the two people's Danton at this time already had the embryonic form of qi. "How did you improve so quickly?" Wei Dongliu asked with no joy or anger, just frowning. His calm reaction was inconsistent with the guesses of Guo Jin and Wang Jun, because Guo Jin thought that the master would be very happy because of their rapid improvement, while Wang Jun thought that the master would be very angry because the two did not report it in advance. However, Guo Jin still answered honestly. "Previously, Senior Jing brought us a lot of elixirs. After my junior sister and I took them, we felt that our Danton was expanding. After dozens of days, we slowly produced the qi." Wei Dongliu remained silent, but searched in his memories for a moment, and soon found the answer. The Giant Tree Secret Realm. At the invitation of Sima Changyan and Juanfen Hegai, Ling Yunpo and Zisu entered the Giant Tree Secret Realm together to search for the spiritual herbs and secret medicines inside. As a result, They found that it was a trap set by Jiangmunu and others. These hateful demons had already plundered the spiritual herbs inside, leaving only some purple mansion spiritual herbs that were a few years old, and wanted to lure out the Shushan disciples to set an ambush and kill them. Of course, with Ling Yunpo's great wisdom, great perseverance, and great fortune, he finally succeeded in turning danger into safety and escaped. As for the harvest, if you don't take into account the Fenun Badura steps that you accidentally got, you only got the purple mansion secret medicine that was 15 years old in the end. The benefits are really not proportional to the fatal risks you took. Where did the big heads go? They were all looted by the demon cult in advance. This is also a problem that practitioners often face. The secret realm you want to explore may not have treasures in it. Even if there are treasures, they may not have been looted in advance. Even if there are some left, it is hard to guarantee that they are not traps. Therefore, Wei Dongliu did not care much about it, and temporarily put the matter aside in his mind and did not think about it again. Now that Guo Jin mentioned the elixir given by Senior Jiang, he quickly realized that it was probably the scraps of that batch of purple mansion spiritual herbs. There are tens of millions of spiritual herbs, and the effects vary with the years of growth. For example, Polygonium multiple run must grow for at least 2,000 years before it can be used as an elixir material for the Purple Mansion secret medicine to increase the cultivation of the Transformation Palace. If it is less than 1,000 years old, the elixir refined can only replenish the true essence at most. And the spiritual herbs that Jianglin and others looted from the Giant Tree secret realm probably contain a large number of low-level scraps like 1,000-year-old Polygonium multiple run. For the Watful level disciples whose Qi has already been filled and who just need to perfect the Purple Palace, these scraps are rare and hard to find, but they are no longer of much value. However, for that Qi refining level disciples whose Qi has not yet been completed, these spiritual herbs can help them quickly fill up their true essence and shorten the Qi refining period. Considering that ordinary talented disciples need to breathe and refine Qi for at least 60 years to fill their Qi, I don't know how many kilograms of 1,000-year-old Polygonium multiple run these two disciples have eaten to refine their Qi for 20 years, even if which Jing and the others don't need it, they can sell it for money. But now it is given to his own disciples, it seems that he really wants to make friends with my Tongshuan sect. Wei Dongliu secretly noted this favor and asked, "How are you practicing our sect's breathing and Qi training technique, the eliminating demons and spirits separating the clear and turbid sutra?" "I have practiced it well." This time it was Wang Jun who answered. She stretched out her fingers, forced a wisp of true Qi out of the meridians, and then ejected it directly. The Qi bullet hit the water plants by the pond, and soon the water plants withered from the roots upwards. This is a derivative secret method of the eliminating demons and separating the clear and turbid scripture, called dirty clothes sword Qi. The Qi in the body is ejected from the meridians, and at the same time, the clear and turbid properties are transformed to make it more corrosive. It looks very similar to Kunlun's invisible sword energy, but because it belongs to the category of demonic energy, it is less light and agile, but more fierce. Wei Dongliu nodded. It is not easy for the second disciple Wang Jun to practice to this level. It should be known that although demonic energy can easily hurt others, it can also hurt oneself. If the demonic energy is transformed too early, it is easy to accumulate in the meridians, which will subtly change the cultivator's mind and even affect the body, becoming grotesque. After all, a chaotic demon body like his own, who is not afraid of demonic energy, is one in a million. Although the eliminating demonic spirit separation sutra is different from ordinary magic techniques, in addition to being able to transform true Qi into demonic Qi, it can also reversely transform demonic Qi into true Qi to reduce harm, but Wang Qi's control ability is so perfect that even if he uses other magic techniques, he doesn't have to worry about backlash. Wei Dongliu turned his eyes and looked at his eldest disciple Guo Jin. The latter could only smile embarrassedly, touching the back of his head and said, "I haven't practiced it yet, so I can only learn from my junior sister. If you continue to be so stupid, maybe I will have to raise seniority and let her be the eldest sister." Wei Dongliu waved his sleeves and left. Chapter 420 I cried to death. "What do you think of my two disciples?" Wei Dongliu asked indifferently. "Master," Fishan Yaksha said flatteringly, "both disciples are outstanding, tell the truth." Wei Dongliu said impatiently. Fishan Yaksha was silent for a moment and said, "Not to mention the cultivation talent, Guo Jin is loyal to you, Wang Jun is relatively more cunning, but I guess he doesn't have the courage to have a different mind. As a flying yaksha, it is very sensitive to human breathing, heartbeat and pulse, so it can guess the psychological activities of Guo Jin and Wang Jun from some changes in the body surface. However, every time it tried to observe Wei Dongliu, it found that the other party seemed to be covered with a layer of fog. It seemed to have normal breathing, heartbeat and pulse, but in fact it was so stable that it was almost impossible to be real. It should be a layer of illusion. So the question is, why does Wei Dongliu wear a layer of illusion on his body? Because the real body under the illusion is the Agatai demon lord from the depths of hell. Today, Fission Yaksha no longer thinks about those shallow and ridiculous rebellion plans. He just plans to stay at Wei Dongliu's door and be a cow and horse. By the way, he curses this Agatai demon lord to go to hell as soon as possible so that he can have a chance to escape. Strictly speaking, it is not a curse, but just hopes that he will come home often. Wei Dongliu was too lazy to guess what Fission Yaksha was thinking, and just walked out of the sect's residence. Fission Yaksha followed diligently. "Do you think I should accept another disciple?" Wei Dongliu asked casually. Fission Yaksha thought quickly. "You are walking out of the residence, and you still ask me whether I should accept a disciple. Isn't it obvious that you have made up your mind?" No, he didn't necessarily go out to find a new disciple, maybe he was doing other things. In the end, Fission Yaksha said respectfully, "I'm just a zombie, and I dare not make rash comments on the sect's decision." Ha ha. Wei Dongliu sneered and said nothing. After leaving Shipping Mountain, he planned to fly to Watai Mountain Market on his sword to find out if anyone knew about the Orthodox Byujin competition. After all, the news about Wei Mojin usually came from the mouths of Jiang Monu and others. Now that they didn't come to visit, and there were no mobile phones to contact each other, Wei Dongliu could only go to inquiring person. Of course, he had to bring Fission Yaksha with him to prevent it from staying in the sect's residence to make trouble. As a result, before leaving the hinterland of Shipping Mountain, two black lights suddenly appeared below. The one who fell behind was a pretty face, a sad expression, and tears in the corners of her eyes. If it wasn't Jiang Monu, who else could it be? The one rushing in front was a beautiful woman with a cold face. Although her appearance was acceptable, she had triangular eyes, upside-down eyebrows, protruding cheekbones, and thin cheeks. In physiognomy, she was a classic mean type. "Is this the Wei Dongliu you mentioned?" the beautiful woman said coldly. Jiang had tears in her eyes, and she lowered her head and dared not look at Wei Dongliu, but said tremblingly, "That's right." "Who is this?" Wei Dongliu asked indifferently. "I'm the colorful moth fairy of the heavenly demon do." The beautiful woman sneered, "I'm the master of Jiang and Daizhenzi. I heard that my disciple Daizhenzi died at your hands, so I came here today to collect this debt." As soon as the voice fell, Jiang Witch's face turned pale and her body began to shake. "But the master of Jiang Witch is the colorful moth fairy of the heavenly demon do. The heavenly demon do is famous for summoning and driving the heavenly demon, and summoning the heavenly demon to the lower world requires sacrifices. The more powerful the cultivator is as a sacrifice, the more powerful the heavenly demon summoned from the lower world will be. This is the same as playing cards. The heavenly demon not only uses hostile cultivators to summon the heavenly demon, but also uses its own disciples as sacrifices from time to time. It can be said that the style of the sect is extremely cruel. Generally speaking, the selection rule is last place elimination, that is, the disciples with the lowest cultivation and the worst talent are taken as sacrifices to the demons, but there are exceptions. For example, the notorious colored moth fairy, when she is in a good mood, she will do last place elimination, and when she is in a bad mood, she will do killing by drawing, and she will only choose familiar disciples to sacrifice. Of course, only disciples with strong strength will be remembered by the master, so you can't be too prominent or too humble in her door, otherwise you'll die very quickly. A few days ago, Jiang was flying a sword near Tontan Lake, and he saw the master coming suddenly from a distance, and he almost lost 2 of his 3 souls. Because the realm has not been able to break through, the colored moth fairy was in a bad mood, so she came out of retrieve from the Depansion headquarters of the Demon Do in advance and flew towards the Bian Palace in Watai Mountain. The faces of several familiar disciples flashed in her mind one by one. Among the disciples in the Foundation Building realm, the one with the highest cultivation is the eldest sister Daizhenzi. You are the eldest senior sister, but you still can't form the golden elixir. What's the use of you? Why don't you let me sacrifice and summon the demon? So the fairy Moth came to Tontan Lake and happened to run into Jiang who was flying by on a sword. She immediately grabbed her and asked, "Where is your senior sister Ai?" Which Jiang knew that this master was always cruel. The worse his mood was, the more expressionless he was. Seeing her face as gloomy as water, how could she not guess that she wanted to use Daizhenzi as a sacrifice? But Daizhenzi was already dead. This must not be told directly, Because if the master knew about this, he would be unable to vent his anger, and the probability of grabbing classmate Jing to replace him was basically as high as 99%. Therefore, driven by the desire to survive, Jianglin had nowhere to go and could only scream in fear. Senior Sister Ai was killed. Under the threat of the terrifying master's gaze, Jing the witch could only hurriedly tell the truth. Senior Sister Ai was unhappy with her, so she found a few Taoist friends to kill her. It happened that she was traveling with a few other Taoist friends, so she turned around and killed Senior Sister Ai. The fairy Kaimoth was just cruel, not stupid. She immediately knew that Jianglin was using a knife to kill someone, so she sneered and said, "I don't care who started it first. Whoever killed my apprentice will be used as the sacrifice." Jianglin's face was pale. He wanted to make up a name, but he knew that he would definitely not be able to deal with the master. He said that it was Wen Yang and the others. When the master went to seek revenge, he found that they were not strong enough to kill Aizenzi, and in the end, he was the unlucky one. Then, there was only one answer left. However, if she said that name and let the master come to her house, no matter who won or lost in the end, it meant that there would be no possibility between her and the other party. Who is it? The fairy of the colored moth revealed her fierce eyes. Wei Jianglin trembled, and the premonition of danger was already warning her wildly, almost making her heart stop. "Hurry up!" The fairy of the colored moth said impatiently, and simply stretched out her magic claws and grabbed Jianglin's fair and slender neck directly. Jianglin struggled like a chicken with its neck strangled, and tried in vain to pull at the master's fingers. The fear of suffocation and dying spread rapidly along her spine, and finally broke her reason. "Wei Dongliu! It's Wei Dongliu, fellow Taoist Wei!" she cried out in embarrassment. "Take me there." The fairy of the colored moth finally let her go, and said sinisterly, "If you can't find him, I'll use you as a sacrifice." Jianglin sat on the ground weakly, his arms hugging his body in fear, his shoulders twitching slightly. Tears slid down her cheeks, and her eyes, which used to be cunning and smart, seemed to have lost all their brilliance. Readers always ask me to carve stone and glass, but I am afraid that my knife is too fast and people can't stand it, so I will write a small one to try first. Chapter 421. I want you to be nosy. Let alone how painful Jianglin was, Wei Dongliu immediately guessed that Jiang Moth had betrayed him when he saw this scene. Otherwise, how did this colorful moth fairy know that she had killed Aizenzi? How did she know the specific location of the Tongshuan Men station? Damn it. What I hate most is deception. And what I hate most is betrayal. Of course, one thing is one thing. If you have to go against your conscience and endure the torture of guilt to deceive and betray for a noble purpose, that is another matter, but Jiang Moth doesn't seem to have any difficulties, right? Seeing that Wei Dongliu completely ignored her, the colorful moth fairy became more and more angry, but her eyes fell on the black-robed figure next to her, and she suddenly became suspicious. In order to shield its ugly dead face, Wei Dongliu asked it to wear a black robe to cover its face. At this time, the colorful moth fairy looked carefully and found that there was no flying sword under the feet of this person, but he was standing in the air, and she immediately became alert. Could it be a demon clan? Even if it is a demon clan today, for me, I just need to prepare one more sacrifice. Thinking of this, a sinister look flashed across the face of the fairy Kaimoth. Just as she was about to take action, she heard Wei Dongliu say, "Who is this?" Fatian Yaksha immediately understood and said with a smile, "Master, he is just a junior in the nascent soul realm. You don't need to do anything, let me handle it. Go quickly." Wei Dongliu said coldly, and flew directly towards Mount Watai. Fatian Yaksha lifted his mask, revealing the unique ferocious face of a zombie, and cast his eyes on the fairy Kaimoth. The latter immediately felt as if she was facing a great enemy, and her eyes widened in horror. Although she is a cultivator of the heavenly demon Do, she is not unfamiliar with the schools of the Ghost Do. Once this zombie has consciousness, it is at least at the Jin and Realm Yue level, that is, the earth-walking Rakshasa. However, the other party can stand in the void without magic, so he must be a Fatian Yaksha in the nascent soul realm. That Wei Dongliu, what kind of person can Fatian Yaksha call him master? Immortal level? Thinking of this, even though Fairy Kaimoth was full of murderous intent, she had to swallow it down. Just as she was about to speak, she heard Fatian Yaksha say coldly, "My master hit some trivial matters before, and asked Jiang Xiaoya to do it. On the way, he was ambushed by some villains, so he dealt with it casually. From what you said, you are the master of those villains? Did you come here specifically to seek revenge this time?" Fairy Kaimoth was speechless, but her face was livid. Fatian Yaksha, who was in the Ness and Soul realm, would most likely suffer losses on both sides even if she tried her best, and then be killed by her master. After a long while, until Fatian Yaksha showed impatience, she forced a smile that was uglier than crying, and said slowly, "There must be a misunderstanding here." "We don't care what misunderstandings there are." Fatian Yaksha interrupted her and said impatiently, "No matter what misunderstandings there are, you are not allowed to bother our master, understand? The master has been in a bad mood recently, and we want to share his worries. If we meet someone who doesn't know what's good for her, we will chew her alive and swallow even her soul. But considering that you're Jing Xiaoi's master, that's another matter. Since you said it was a misunderstanding before, we will regard it as an internal dispute of Yoti and Modu and let you deal with it yourself." "Your Excellency is right." The colored teeth fairy laughed dryly and said, internal disputes. Very good." Fatian Yaksha said here, and suddenly said coldly, "Then slap your face." "Slap the face." The colored teeth fairy's face twitched. "Didn't you say you were here to collect a debt?" Fatian Yaksha smiled, "Your disciple named Ai offended my master, shouldn't you come to pay her debt?" The fairy Kaimoth stood there in shock for a long while, and suddenly slapped herself hard. "It's my fault for not disciplining me properly, please forgive me." Jiangling watched in fear, feeling cold all over. Fatian Yaksha had said for the sake of you being Jing Xiaoi's master, and she thought he was going to save her so that the fairy Kaimoth would be afraid. But then he said pay the debt, and the witch Jing immediately understood that Fatian Yaksha didn't want to save her, but deliberately used this to anger the fairy Kaimoth. With the master's vengeful character, he must hate himself for being humiliated and slapped in public like this, and he didn't dare to vent his anger on Wei Dongliu. Just because of the previous sentence, little friend Jiang, the master may not dare to attack me in the short term, but this will make the hatred deeper. No matter how I explain it later, I will never get the master's forgiveness. From now on, the master will definitely have a murderous intention towards me, and I can only hold Wei Dongliu's thigh tightly, otherwise if the master notices something wrong, he will kill me immediately. This Fatian Yaksha is really vicious and insidious. Fatian Yaksha didn't care about them, just nodded coldly and said, "It's not up to us to say whether to forgive you or not. We will see the master later. If the master doesn't say anything, we'll forget it. If he says, hee, let's wait and see." After saying that, it used the flying magic power and chased in the direction of Wei Dongliu. Jiangmoon watched silently from behind, feeling sad. Of course, she knew that Fatian Yaksha was just pretending to be powerful. After all, its cultivation has been perfected and it is about to turn into a demon. Even if Wei Dongliu released the seal and leaped a little breath, it would also attract many heavenly disasters. But what does it matter? Now he can only rely on the tiger skin of Fatian Yaksha and Wei Mojin to save his life, otherwise if he knows the truth, the first one to kill him will be his master. "Why are you still standing here?" Fairy Kaimoth covered her swollen cheeks, said in a resentful tone, "Why don't you chase after him and ask for forgiveness? Or do you really want to see your master die in front of you?" "Disciple dare not, disciple will go now." Jiangling hurriedly bowed, then threw out the flying sword and chased in the direction of Wei Dongliu and Fatian Yaksha. Wei Dongliu flew away on his sword before, and after pulling away, he slowly slowed down. The worst case scenario is that Fatian Yaksha and Fairy Kaimoth started fighting, triggering the boundless heavenly tribulation to punish Hanba. At the time, he would let Jin teleport away as soon as possible. Humph, just a unique cultivator, there is nothing to worry about. Now he has calmed down and realized that the so-called betrayal of Jiangmoth may not be intentional, but may be coerced by her master. No matter how many tricks she had, she couldn't do anything in the face of the huge gap between the foundation building stage and the nascent soul stage. What else could she do except confess? You can't expect the fairy of colored moth to be like the head of Zuia, knowing that her disciple was lying and still willing to protect him. After waiting for a while, Wei Dongliu found that there was no heavenly tribulation behind him, so he knew that he was safe this time. Sure enough, not long after, Fatian Yaksha came over on a black cloud. "Master," it said in a flattering manner, "I have taught that old woman a lesson." "Oh?" Wei Dongliu glanced at it and said coldly, "How did I teach her a lesson? Tell me." "I asked her to slap herself in the face, and deliberately pointed out that I would let her go for the sake of Jing Xiaoya." Fatian Yaksha said triumphantly, "In this way, if the girl wants to survive and is not killed by her vengeful master, she can only take shelter under the master's crotch." Wei Dongliu, you are so nosy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Mundo Fanfic Novelers, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novel, as there you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 422, I Owe You a Life. Wei Dongliu didn't know how to comment on Fish and Yak's self-assertion. Indeed, Jiang Monu's loose lips, even if there were unavoidable factors involved, also made Wei Dongliu disgusted. It's fine if nothing bad happens this time, but if it happens next time, no matter how unavoidable you are, I won't forgive you. However, Wei Dongliu must also admit that Jiang Monu was indeed a useful source of information. Whether it is Wen Yang, Long Xiaoqi or Gilai, they were all introduced by Jiang Monu, which is enough to show her wide network of contacts. In this case, it is not easy to deal with, or in other words, it can be dealt with in any way. Not long after, Jiang Lin also came from behind on a sword, but stopped a few feet away and looked at him with tears in his eyes. Wei Dongliu looked at her expressionlessly. Jiang Lin had originally prepared a lot of excuses and pretexts, as well as pitiful looks and expressions, ready to beg Wei Dongliu for forgiveness. But when she really faced him, she couldn't say a word. She suddenly realized that in her life, Wei Dongliu was probably the first person who treated her well unconditionally and never thought of harming her. The master raised her and taught her, just like raising pigs and dogs, and would kill them if he didn't like them. Wen Yang and others cooperated with her only for the sake of interests, and they could turn against each other at any time. Even her biological parents didn't care about her or miss her at all. Only Wei Dongliu, the demon lord, neither coveted any of his own interests nor ever thought of harming her. Jiang Lin thought like a demon, and suddenly wanted to cry again. But she still tried hard to hold back her tears, just staring at Wei Dongliu stubbornly. "What do you want to say?" Wei Dongliu asked with a frown. "Do you hate me?" Jiang Lin said in a trembling voice. Fish and Yaksha was watching happily on the side, like a little girl curled up on the sofa with potato chips watching a soap opera at 8 o'clock in the evening. When Wei Dongliu turned his head and glared at her, he immediately retreated away tactfully. "Hate you?" Wei Dongliu smiled faintly. "No need, I've seen a lot." He originally wanted to brush up the synchronization value of his mysterious personality. What situation haven't I seen? But Jiang Lin directly thought of "I've seen a lot of people like you," and the tears finally couldn't stop sliding down his cheeks, but he gritted his teeth and sneered. "Yes, yes. As the identity of Wei Mojin, you naturally look down on villains like me. But does Wei Mojin know what kind of life we villains live? I was born in a fishing family, and my family has regarded me as a money-losing commodity since I was a child. Later, there were constant storms on the sea. The fishing boss said that the Dragon King was angry and wanted to tie me to a stone and sink me into the sea to offer me to the Dragon King as his wife. My parents didn't even refuse. Then I was taken away by the master who passed by, and I became a disciple of the heavenly demon sect. I was trembling every day, for fear that I would be caught and sacrificed to the devil. The eldest sister who loved me the most was pierced by thousands of needles by the master to turn her flesh and blood into a feast for the 8 gods and demons in the lower world. My second senior sister, who was close to me, betrayed her religion out of fear and fled. She was captured by the master and tortured for 49 days before her soul flew away. Even my third senior sister, who had always been at odds with me, was framed and killed by the master with a palm strike. Her soul was eaten by the devil and she couldn't even enter reincarnation. Wei Mojin, if you were in my position, what would you do? What could you do? Wei Dongliu didn't react much, but his face was as gloomy as water and he didn't say a word. As far as this question is concerned, there is actually nothing to answer. It's like a child born in the Middle East, saying that he has been fighting everywhere with an Arkansas since he was a child. He doesn't have enough food every day, and his parents and brothers are all dead. If you ask domestic netizens what they think, netizens can probably only watch it with their mobile phones, sitting, standing or lying down. To put it bluntly, what does it have to do with me? People have different circumstances, and it is difficult to communicate joys and sorrows, especially for people they are not familiar with. Although he had never experienced the dangerous situation of being weak and helpless with enemies everywhere, how could Jiang Lin have ever experienced the experience of being a spy who was trembling with fear and treading on thin ice? Everyone has his own sufferings. Only after going through them can you have the opportunity to complain. If you can't go through them, then there is nothing. Even if you complain, no one will hear you. I think Lord Wei thinks I'm ridiculous. Jiang Lin wiped the tears from her face and said with a sob, "I just want to live." Who doesn't want to live? Wei Dongliu said in a deep voice, "If you live to be 100 years old, you want to prolong your life. If you are poor, you want to gain wealth. If you fight with others, you have to fight to the death. Even if it is practicing Taoism itself, isn't it fighting for life with the sky? Lord Wei is talking about great truths. Jiangling gritted her teeth and held back her sobs, saying, I'm born in a humble family and don't understand those great truths. I only know that it is difficult to survive, so I must exhaust every bit of my strength and put every chip I have on the table to fight for any chance of survival I can get, even if it means lying, cheating, betrayal, and using any means necessary. As long as I can survive because of this, it is worth it and necessary, because if you die, there will be nothing. Those you love, hate, and want to see, as well as all traces of your own existence, will be completely wiped out from this world. She shouted so loudly that even Fishin Yaksha, who was hiding in the distance, heard it and couldn't help but feel sympathetic. Yes, the little girl is right. As long as she can survive, what does it matter if she becomes a zombie? But she was too excited. With the status of the Demon Lord, how could he care about her betrayal? As long as you are still useful to the Demon Lord will not do anything to you. As Fishin Yaksha expected, Wei Dongliu had an indescribable complex feeling when facing the revelation of Jiangling's true nature. To be honest, it's not shameful to make a living. If you really have no choice, everyone knows it and can understand it. But you bring out words like in order to survive and even if you use any means necessary. These words sound like you are whitewashing yourself, which seems a bit despicable. However, as a witch, it is not impossible for Jiangwitch to be a little selfish, cunning, or even evil. After all, Wei Dongliu exists to find the hell that has been hidden for many years. This sect has been hiding for nearly 10,000 years, secretly manipulating the situation in the world of cultivation. It can be said to be extremely insidious and cunning. If there is someone who is also full of bad intentions to help, it will naturally be more beneficial than harmful to his career. Well, as long as there are fewer such clumsy and forced betrayals. He was thinking silently, while Jiangling lowered his eyes, muttered to himself, and his face was ashen. I will not tolerate a second betrayal. Wei Dongliu suddenly said. Jiangling opened his eyes slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but soon his body softened and he had no strength to speak again, but his face turned rosy. If it happens a second time. Wei Dongliu narrowed his eyes, you'll definitely die, and even God can't save you. Jiangling was silent for a long time, and then she suddenly smiled with tears in her eyes, stretched out her slender hand to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes, and said gratefully, yes, thank you, great Demon Lord Wei, for forgiving my sins. I owe you a life. Speaking of owing a life, in fact, with Jiang the demon girl's fear of death, she definitely doesn't intend to pay it back. But if there is another betrayal, the new grudges and old debts will be pursued together, and then it won't be over with just one death. Both Wei Dongliu, who had a cold face, and Jiangling, who burst into laughter, knew this very well. Chapter 423. Inquiring for information. Jiangling was very afraid of death. According to her, since she was rescued from the sea by the fairy of colored moth, she lived in fear every day in the heavenly demonic path, and finally awakened a strange ability. As long as she was about to encounter fatal danger, she would have an intuition of fear in advance. Whether in the sect or outside, Jiangling has avoided many dangers with this intuition. But today, she has roughly realized the nature of this ability. It is not aimed at external dangers, but at the malice of people. The dangers encountered by the demon sect monks are mostly from the malice of other monks, and Jiangling is extremely sensitive to this malice. If someone has a strong killing intention towards her, although it is not 100%, she has a high probability of noticing it in advance. However, Wei Dongliu was one of the few, or even the only one, who has never had any malice towards her. As for Luo Yan, who is Luo Yan? Although Jiangwitch is a witch, she is also a witch who knows how to seek benefits and avoid harm. With such a Wei Mojin, if she does not hold on to his thighs tightly, it would be a shame for all her years of experience in the demonic path. We don't know much about the Baiyusheng competition at present. On the way to the Watai Mountain Market, Jiangling answered softly, at present, we only know that the Baiyusheng competition was initiated by Shushan, aiming to gain more prestige with the results of the competition, and even to readjust the order of the three pure ones of the Orthodox Church. In addition, there is a rumor that the Baiyusheng secret realm is not only Baiyusheng, but there are more secret realms deep inside it. Oh, what is this saying? Wei Dongliu raised his eyebrows. Has Wei Mojin heard of these four words? Jiangling said crisply, Baiyusheng, Bang Jim K, Kai Bak Xuan Yuan, Daguan Mingdine. According to the Taoist saying, Baiyusheng refers to the body, Bang Jim K refers to the consciousness, Kai Bak Xuan Yuan refers to the soul, and Dak Yuan Mingdine is the origin. Therefore, deep inside the Baiyuzheng secret realm, there is likely to be an entrance to the Wang Jinke secret realm. How sure are you about this statement? Wei Dongliu asked indifferently. About 30 to 40%. Jianglin said embarrassedly. If not, even if Shushan took the initiative to hold the competition, Kumlin and Penglai might not give it face. How do we open Baiyuzheng? Wei Dongliu asked for confirmation. It's hard to say at the moment. Jianglin pondered for a moment and said, but the first step is definitely to select 12 orthodox monks who are strong enough through the righteous competition, and occupy the 12 cities of Baiyuzheng respectively. As for what to do next, I don't know. The orthodox side hasn't revealed anything. What about the 6 paths? Wei Dongliu asked lightly, don't you plan to interfere? The top leaders don't seem to have this plan at the moment. Jianglin said with a wry smile, first, after the previous long tug-of-war, everyone feels that the benefits have been grabbed enough, and continuing to fight with the 3 purities will do more harm than good. Second, we can't get into the Baiyuzheng secret realm. Oh? Since the Baiyuzheng secret realm was discovered, not many monks have entered, including our people. Jianglin explained, therefore, in the eyes of the top leaders, there is also the possibility of a trap. For example, it is estimated that the news of the Baiyuzheng competition will be released to lure out demon monks to rob the place, and then set up an ambush in the secret realm to catch the turtle in the jar. Wei Dongliu was silent for a moment, and then ruled out this possibility. The reason is simple. The head of Ziwi's sect has given up death order that Qiu Changtai must get the first place in the competition, so how could it be an ambush? Then what's the point of me getting the first place? It's a backdrop and a smokescreen for you to ambush the demon sect, right? I think the demon sect is shrinking and dare not go to the Baiyuzheng secret realm to deal with the 3 major sects at the same time, so they are talking nonsense about the possibility of an ambush. But, I heard that there is some secret information from the Hell Road. Jianglin suddenly said. Wei Dongliu's ears immediately stood up. Speaking of traitors, the number of hidden players buried by the Hell Road in the 3 pure ones is probably more than the rest of us in the 5 paths combined. Which Jiang said casually, they must have obtained some accurate and powerful information, so they did not advocate searching or even attacking the Baiyuzheng secret realm. Tell me more. Wei Dongliu said indifferently. That's all. Which Jiang said in astonishment, that's all I know, I can't go into more detail. After all, the Heldo only interacts with the high-level officials as the duos. For small pawns like us, at most we can get some clues from the words of our fellow disciples, but it's hard to say what the details are. It's useless. Fatian Yaksha said disdainfully, the master asked you to tell me in detail, and it's giving you a chance to show off. If you really don't know, then first apologize sincerely, then guarantee that you will try your best to find out information next, and finally sign a military order to come back and report within a few days, just saying I know that much. Are you reporting or chatting? How can you be so shameless? Which Jiang was shocked by the shameless dog-licking remarks, and she couldn't say anything for a while. Okay. Wei Dongliu waved his hand casually to help her out, there's no need to force this. Say thank you. Fatian Yaksha shouted. Jianglin was depressed for a long time, and could only whisper, okay, I'll go and ask about it later. When they arrived at Watai Mountain Market, Jiang the witch left first to find out the news. Wei Dongliu, with the black robe and masked Fatian Yaksha, wandered around the market. According to the routine of ordinary fantasy novels, a villain should appear at this time, provoke him for some reason, and then be beaten up by Fatian Yaksha, fleeing, and looking for a more powerful villain to help. However, Wei Dongliu wandered around the market for a long time, and did not encounter any provocative villains. Well, it must be my mysterious personality that is working. The passers-by around can't see the depth of my strength, so they can only stay away, He suddenly saw Gilai mixed in a group of bald monks, wearing a red robe, clasping his hands together, chanting scriptures, and walking towards the pagoda in the distance. What a bunch of bald donkeys. Fatian Yaksha sighed, their foreheads are really bright, they can be used as mirrors. Where are they going and what are they doing? Wei Dongliu frowned and asked. Master wants to know. Fatian Yaksha volunteered, why don't I go and find out for the master? No, don't make things complicated. Wei Dongliu said coldly. After all, he was a little uneasy about letting Fatian Yaksha go to the Buddhist territory. Okay. Fatian Yaksha looked at the pagoda in the distance and suppressed the impulse in his heart. Of course, it has seen that Wei Dongliu and one of the monks are acquainted. It also knows from past memories that these monks are evil monks, and their red robes are all blood-stained. After all, wearing blood and sleeping on skin is one of the necessary conditions for practicing drinking blood wrathful venerable. The other necessary condition is to drown in rage. Once these evil monks start chanting, it means they are going to kill people. Unfortunately, the Lord Demon doesn't like trivial matters and doesn't allow me to join in the fun. Thinking of this, Fission Yaksha also felt a little regretful and continued to suppress the killing impulse in the zombie's heart. When he looked up again, he saw Jiangling holding up her skirt, running quickly across the mountain road towards Wei Dongliu excitedly. On her face was a pure smile filled with happiness that Fission Yaksha hated very much. Chapter 424. Monk Confrontation. Does the Demon King still remember Gilai? Jing, the demon girl asked with a smile. Of course I remember the trip to southern Xinjiang in the past. Wei Dongliu replied. In the 100,000 mountains of southern Xinjiang, Wei Dongliu, Jianglin, Wenyang, Longxiaqi and Gilai, the five of them went together to break into the Jinnu Palace and formed a deep friendship. With such a relationship, they would not completely forget each other. Not to mention, Gilai's fierce battle with the two-faced ghost in the Jinnu Palace, and his extremely fierce immovable King Fist, as well as the blood-drinking wrathful lord on the opposite side, also made Wei Dongliu remember it clearly. Although the Shirdao is not the orthodoxy of the Jirijiao, it is indeed fierce and warlike. No wonder it can be ranked among the six paths and often competes head-on with the Shushan Roughman. There is too little information about the Hell Realm, Jianglin said mysteriously, but I did hear another piece of news from Gilai. The demon Buddha Yushin is about to pass away in Puji Temple. All the major Buddhist sects and Shura sects have set their sights on his relics, and are now rushing to Puji Temple. Oh. Wei Dongliu said indifferently, what does this Buddhist matter have to do with us? The demon Buddha Yushin has lived for more than 5,000 years and has already completed his cultivation. The only thing left is to pass away in the last step, abandon his body, and return to the Western Pure Land to attain a happy body. Jianglin playfully put his hands together and saluted. He is proficient in the law of fate and mental arithmetic, so he might know some information about the Hell Realm and Bai Yujing. And it is said that he was fierce and bloodthirsty in his early years, and he earned the title of Demon Buddha by killing his way through. Later, I don't know how, he suddenly had a great enlightenment, put down his butcher knife, escaped to Puji Temple and converted to Mahayana Buddhism. His temperament also became gentle, and he was known as easy to talk to in Buddhism. Considering that he is about to pass away, if the demon lord asks him questions, he may get answers. I see. Wei Dongliu pondered for a moment, thinking that if he really was an old monster who had lived for 5,000 years and was easy to talk to, he could try to establish a relationship with him and get some information. After all, whether it was Qiu Chang's Haiyan to the head of Ziwei sect, Ling Yunpo to the ancestor of the Yuan family, or Luo Yan to the elder of Shiding, they were essentially the younger generation serving the elders, and he did have sufficient and rich experience in this regard. How long would it take for him to pass away? I think it will be within 3 to 5 days. Jianglin said with a smile. The demon Buddha Yushin was born in Shirodao. Although he left the sect later, Shirodao will never let go of the relics in his body. On the other hand, the Central Plains Buddhist sects such as Puji Temple will not sit idly by and watch Yushin's body being dissected by Shirodao to take out the relics. Otherwise, who would dare to convert in the future? So the two sides are already on the verge of a fight. However, as long as the demon Buddha Yushin is not dead, the two sides will definitely not dare to fight. As long as we ask for his advice before that, we can successfully get out of this mess. Very good. Wei Dongliu thought for a moment and confirmed that there was nothing wrong with this plan. What's more commendable is that this matter has no benefit to Jianglin, but she still chose to take the risk to accompany him to get involved, which shows that the training of this witch has begun to pay off. It's a pity that the final problem of her body can never be solved. Cherishing life. The biggest feature of this witch's personality is shamelessness. She can do anything to survive. In this regard, the opposite extreme is Yu Yinlian, the junior sister. Many things you ask her to do are more difficult than killing her. For example, in the Jirijiao sword formation, Qiu Chang's Haiyan asked her to run away in advance, but she refused. She would rather die than block the knife for her senior brother. But if it was Jiang Monu, I'm afraid she would run away to no one before Wei Dongliu opened his mouth. Although Yu Yinlian's words are unpleasant to the ear, arrogant and cold, she is a reliable existence who can be trusted with her back. Jianglin is good at sweet talk and is very smooth in dealing with people, but Wei Dongliu can never trust her as a confidant because she really has no principles and bottom line, this is the difference. Walking towards the pagoda, Wei Dongliu soon arrived at Puji Temple. Puji Temple is one of the 5 temples in Watai Mountain. Although Watai Mountain is the territory of the Fanshindo, everyone knows that the Fanshindo is just a loose alliance composed of countless sects, and there is no control over the huge Watai Mountain area at all. As long as they are willing to pay money to rent a site, not to mention Buddhism, even brothels can do business in Mount Watai. There was no one outside the Puji Temple. When Wei Dongliu walked into the temple gate, he saw that the courtyard inside was full of people. On one side were the blue-robed monks, and on the other side were the blood-robed monks. The two sides were clearly divided and on the verge of a fight, as if they were about to fight at any time. However, in the main hall of the temple in front, there was a crisp sound of wooden fish knocking. The sound seemed to have a kind of magic power, so that the monks on both sides did not dare to fight rashly, but just glared at each other. The blood-robed monks were waiting for the demon Buddha inside to sit and die, while the blue-robed monks were waiting for reinforcements to arrive. Wei Dongliu suddenly saw that the old monk Gilai was mixed in the back row of the blood-robed monks. He just looked over here following the crowd's gaze, and quickly withdrew his gaze as if nothing had happened. It was obvious that he did not want to expose the fact that the two knew each other. "Who are you?" Seeing another uninvited guest come in, the blue-robed monks were slightly agitated, and then a warrior monk holding a long stick came out and asked with a frown. This man, a woman, and a black robe obviously did not look like Buddhist disciples. The Sarira is a clear sacred object of Buddhism, which is not compatible with the Taoist system, and is even more restrained with the evil magic of the demon sect. As for why the Shirdodo coveted the Sarira, it was not used to assist in practicing evil magic, but to solve the hidden danger of being possessed by the devil. For example, their blood-drinking wrathful venerable becomes more irritable and angry the more they practice, and they must use some Buddhist methods to remove the inner demon, and the Sarira is one of the best choices. Although this strange visitor is not dressed as a Buddhist disciple, it is probably not coveting the Sarira, but if he is invited to support the Shirdodo monks on the opposite side, it is also a headache. The blood-robed monks on the opposite side originally showed hostility, but when they heard the blue-robed monks shouting, they knew that the visitor was not the reinforcements on the opposite side, and immediately relaxed. Wei Dongliu raised his eyebrows and was about to speak when he suddenly heard the flying action next to him say, "Master, wait a moment. How can you personally take care of these bald donkeys? Let me communicate with you." Then, it laughed a few times, looked around at the monks, and said evilly, "My demon lord is here to visit the demon Buddha Yushin. If you bald donkeys want to fight for the relics, just wait outside obediently." Wow! What a big tone! Now, both the blue-robed monks and the blood-robed monks immediately became furious. When the blue-robed monks on the Puji temple heard that the visitor called himself Demon Lord, they knew that he was definitely not a good person. And the blood-robed monks of Shirdodo on the opposite side heard that this person wanted to visit the demon Buddha. How could they believe it? He must be planning to wait for the demon Buddha to die and snatch the relics first. So, although the two sides were still in a hostile state, they quietly narrowed the distance between each other and blocked the way for Wei Dongliu and others. "Wei Dongliu. Inuyasha, you are so talkative. However, considering the synchronization value of the mysterious character, I will spare your life for the time being." Chapter 425 Demon Buddha Yushin. Outside Puji Temple, the atmosphere became increasingly tense. Wei Dongliu looked at the monks coldly without saying a word. He couldn't make a move, because his current identity was the Demon Lord. If he didn't kill the monks instantly, his mysterious personality would be broken. Fishin Yaksha lowered his head and smiled evilly, without saying a word. It couldn't make a move either, because its realm was stuck on the edge of evolving into a drought demon. As long as it leaked a trace of its breath, it would attract a heavenly calamity. The blue-robed monks glared at him, without saying a word. They couldn't make a move, because the reinforcements hadn't arrived yet, and they couldn't rashly lose their strength here, giving the enemy an opportunity to take advantage. The blood-robed monks stood still gloomily, without saying a word. They couldn't make a move, because once they made a move, they might attract the suppression of the demon Buddha in the temple, and they could only wait patiently for the demon Buddha to sit and die. Jianglin shrank back with a stern face, without saying a word. She was trying to hold back her laughter, because the way these people stared at each other, and no one was willing to make a move, was too funny and interesting. Of course, in the eyes of Witch Jiang, if it was just a little longer, Lord Wei would get impatient and destroy Puji Temple with a slap. "Who is the donor?" The old man's voice suddenly came from the temple. "You can come in and see." The monks in green were horrified, and someone shouted, "Uncle Mingjin, no. It's okay." The man in the temple said, and then he said nothing, leaving only the sound of wooden fish. On the Shura roadside, the monks in blood-stained clothes were also a little agitated, but soon calmed down under the angry glance of the leader. That man is the angry Rivalries Thong. Jiangling used the magic of, after entering the temple, Wei Dongliu looked around and saw that the furnishings in the temple were quite simple and clean. There was not much dust on the blue stone floor tiles, and the air was filled with a faint scent of sandalwood. An old monk in grey was sitting cross-legged on a cushion, his hands simply resting on his knees, with a wooden fish in front of him. The strange thing was that even though no one was knocking on it, the wooden fish made a banging sound from the inside. Demon Buddha Yushin? Wei Dongliu asked coldly. Amitabha. The old monk said with his eyes closed, there are only ordinary monks here. If the donor wants to find that demon Buddha, he has found the wrong person. Master. Flying Yaksha said from the side, he has too much evil spirit and is plagued by karma. I can smell it, he is the demon Buddha. The old monk was silent for a moment, and said, what can we do about the evil spirit and the karma? Yesterday's cause, today's result, we must pay attention to it. Wei Dongliu could of course understand what he meant. It was nothing more than that he had committed too many sins of killing in the past, so he gave up the title of Demon Buddha, escaped into a Buddhist temple, and was accompanied by green lamps and wooden fish. Thinking of this, he did not intend to continue chatting, but just asked directly, Master, do you know the secret realm of Baiyujing? Do you know the hell? Baiyujing. The old monk pondered for a moment and said slowly, it's just the appearance. Baiyujing is just a secret realm on the surface. Wei Dongliu asked in surprise, in other words, there are indeed deeper secret realms inside. Amitabha. The old monk sighed and said, what's the point of listening to false words? Everything has its own fate. The other party used the fate trick, and Wei Dongliu knew that he was unwilling to say more, so he continued to ask. What about the hell? I heard that the hell has information about Baiyujing. How can I find their people and exchange information with them? This time the old monk was silent for a longer time. Who are you? He suddenly asked back. Wei Dongliu. Why are you looking for the hell? The old monk opened his cloudy eyes and asked, ordinary practitioners can't even stay away from them, so how can they take the initiative to look for them? The master seems to be afraid of the hell. Wei Dongliu asked tentatively. The old monk didn't answer, but just said, tell me first, what is your purpose in looking for the hell? I just want to ask for information about Baiyujing. Wei Dongliu said lightly. Lies. The old monk said. I heard the secret legends of the hell before, and I was very curious. Wei Dongliu continued. It's still a lie. The old monk continued. Wei Dongliu is helpless. These old monsters who have lived for hundreds or thousands of years are all shrewd people. Ordinary excuses can't deceive them at all. I really have something to do when looking for the hell. He could only adopt the limited truth method and said, as for what it is, it's not convenient to say. This time he said the truth, so that the old monk didn't point out that he was lying again. After a long while, he said, Wei Dongliu, do you believe in fate? Fate? Wei Dongliu fell silent. If you ask him whether he believes it subjectively, he definitely doesn't believe it. But does this thing not exist if you don't believe it? Look at the Kunlun mirror, look at the stone glass. After thinking about it, Wei Dongliu could only answer vaguely. If you believe it, it exists. If you don't believe it, it doesn't exist. Old monk. He pondered for a long time before suddenly laughing. That's right, it's true. I didn't expect that I would be enlightened by you here after thinking about it for half a lifetime. The so-called fate, the more obsessed, the more attached to the appearance, the more bound you are. On the contrary, if you jump out of it at the beginning, you won't be confused by it. The old monk laughed and said a lot of inexplicable words. Even someone as experienced as Wei Dongliu didn't know what this demon Buddha was talking about. But soon, he didn't have to think about the meaning of the other party's words. Because the demon Buddha Yushin suddenly stretched out his hand and inserted it into his chest. Then he groped carefully for a while, and finally broke off a bloody rib, and handed it to Wei Dongliu. Take it. What is this? Wei Dongliu said with disdain. Don't you want to ask about the hell? Demon Buddha Yushin said with a smile, this is the key to the hell. Wei Dongliu. He borrowed the rib with flesh and blood, thinking whether to chew it or feed it to the dog. Amitabha. Demon Buddha Yushin touched his chest, and the wound disappeared immediately. If you believe, it exists. If you don't believe, it doesn't exist. If you want to find the hell, you have to believe in fate. If you don't want to be manipulated by it, you can't believe in fate. You have to remember what you said. After saying that, he waved his sleeves, and Wei Dongliu, Jianglin and Fish and Yaksha were pushed out of the main hall by a gentle force. Then, all the monks outside, whether they were in green or blood, fixed their unwilling, angry, greedy, and covetous eyes on him. "How is Uncle Mingjin? Have you obtained the relic? The relic is a treasure of our sect, it must not fall into the hands of outsiders." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.